Recently, I've been watching tons of Plants vs. Zombies 2 challenge content. And people be in the game while only using certain types of plants, and even using plants that were only in other games. And while watching these videos, an idea appeared within my head which led to the entire existence of this video. So today, I'm gonna see if you can beat Plants vs. Zombies 2 with only flowers, and add some extra spice to the challenge. I'll be doing this in the Reflourished one, which adds tons of new levels, some balancing the plants, and some really good costumes will be shown later on. And now, without further ado, let's give our save an appropriate name and begin this challenge.
The zombies are coming.
Well, pass me this the last tutorial level, because no one wants to watch that, let's be honest here. Let me explain the rules of this challenge. As the name of the challenge says, we are only allowed to use flowers. Now, what do I consider to use as a flower? Well, here are some requirements to what I consider to be a flower. Number one, if they have the word flower in their name, or name of a different type of flower, they're clearly allowed to, They're named flower, so I should obviously be allowed to use them. Number two, if PopMap calls them a flower in some way, like in the plant's bio, in the almanac, or being called a flower in another game, I guess that counts, because PopCap calls it a flower. Number three, if the real-life plant it's based on is a flower, then, if obviously that plant is also a flower. And lastly, if I can show someone else that plant and they go, yep, that's a flower, alright, then they are allowed. Additionally, any non-flower that is planted at the start of the level is allowed in this challenge because I didn't plant them. Therefore, they are not my plants. They are someone else's, probably Dave's. Also, try not to use both the plant boost you get from the Zen Garden, along with trying to use power-ups. And lastly, if locked and loaded, the conveyor belt levels will be ignored for this challenge. I'll give them one try if they have some type of attacking power. And with all the rules out of the way, pass me beat the tutorial level and some assaults. Now what can you use that for? Oh god, a man! Now that we have entered the first stage needed, I can now introduce the first flower to our scene, Sunflower. And to those who do not know, they produce sun, which isn't very helpful against the zombies. Now look, I tried to beat this level of only sunflowers, I really did, but they don't have the stalling power that is needed to hold up the zombies to the final wave. So, beat this level normally, move on. With days 2 and 3 also being the same boat as day 1, I started to question if this challenge would even be possible. No? You could be useful. That's right, folks, Bloomerang. PopCap calls them one hero, so now that we have an attacking plant, I go back to the first 3 days and beat them the way they were meant to be beaten. With flowers. And while using sunflower as a form of defensive plant, protect my boomerangs, we beat this level, and we can finally continue on and truly start this challenge. Day 4 is just a conveyor belt level, and it does give me boomerang, so it is possible within my conditions. And day 5 is just the, the power-up showcase, so pretty boring. Day 6 is the introduction of the camel zombie. Who, it's a gang of basic zombies stuck in the forever conga line. And, sadly for them, Boomerang's main existence is to counter them, making them no problem to deal with. And yes, Sunflower is now wearing a Baron Von Bat's hat. Told you this mod's costumes were pretty good. And, hey, now that you're here, what if you give me, a subscribble? That definitely came out the way I wanted it to. Day 7 has us match of symbols to destroy zombies. But for those who weren't around during the early days, this is Camel Match. Minigame where you just match symbols to, kill the camel zombies. It's pretty fun. This could just be coming from nostalgia, though. I have no clue why it was removed from the vanilla version of the game, but I'm happy that it's here now. So thank you, Reflourished dev team, for re-adding this minigame and making ancient Egypt a bit more interesting. Day 8 is the first mini-boss stage, and luckily, level once again gives us Bloomerang. But it shows Bloomerang's damage is not that up to par. We're dealing with heavier damage plants. I mean, 2 of them can barely take out a Buckethead. And they can barely even take out a Gargantuar. Even with their plant food ability, which is not that good to begin with. But, you know, this level is not that hard. And we unlock the key to the Pirate Seas, which we won't be using because we still have the rest of Ancient Egypt to go through. I am not just going to go to the next world and get my next flower. I am a man of honor. Day 9 introduces the Torch Zombie, who wields the power of arson to cook my plant alive. And while iceberg lettuce is the main weakness to them, but because we can't use him, this zombie could prove to be a challenge. Oh, he's dead. Alright then. Yep. Boomerang damage is good to deal with him very easily. I mean, they didn't kill any of my plants this level, but I'm sure they're meant to kill at least one plant with their fire, right? Right! Day 10 introduces the Tomb Raiser zombie, but with Boomerang Pierce, their gravestones are kind of irrelevant, making them just kind of a basic zombie with some light indigestion problems. Day 11 is the first locked and loaded level, where the game gives us a chosen amount of plants to attempt to beat this level. Now, what do they give us here? Sunflower and Bloomerang? I can work with this. And so, day 11 was beaten with my win condition. Rule conditions, what am I saying? Day 12 brings us the first of the many problem zombies, as the us PvZ players like to call them. What am I doing? Pharaoh zombie hides in their sarcophagus like the cowards that they are. But once their cover has been blown, they act like a newspaper zombie and start increasing their speed. It takes at least 3 rows of bloomerangs to beat them. So, that's what we did. Day 13 is the rot infesting the first 2 lanes of my lawn. But with my strategy not needing that much space to begin with, along with there not being stronger as a Along with there not being a zombie stronger than a conehead, we pass this level with not much of an issue. Day 14, not much to really say. There are zombies returns, but like, we get the Zen Garden as well. We get to plant some flowers. Awesome. Day 15 is the first, the many protect endangered plant levels. This is the first level to be proven a bit of a challenge, with them sending bucketheads and furrows in the same lanes as the endangered plants. This could be difficult, but thanks to bloomerangs, plant food being able to damage them enough, we passed this level with only a few close calls. Day 16 is another camel matching level. Still fun, still easy. So let's move on. Day 17 gives us a planting limit. Don't really know why, but not much of an impact to begin with, so we passed this level. Not like it was even there to begin with. Day 18 is the first plan your defense level. Now, what attacking plant can I use? Welcome to Australia. We even beat this level. Day 19 has the return of the rot, along with not allowing us to plant more than 12 plants. But once again, even with these challenges, Bloomerang shows is just piercing is just a really good effect in this world. Probably the rest of the game as well. Day 20 is another protect the endangered plants level. Well, there are some close calls with the zombies once again, like the previous one. But even with the rat horde zombies, none can match the power of Bloomerang. So, we save these sunflowers from the eternal fate of death. Day 21, another locked and loaded level. No plants we can use, so skip! Day 22 has the first reset of this entire challenge. Is it hard? Not really. More or less just a mistake on my end. But on the next attempt, making sure to save my plant food for the bucketheads and pharaohs, and a quick work of this level. Also, look at this bee costume for Boomerang. Isn't it so cute? I mean, like, once again, congrats to the art team at Reflourished. You guys are awesome. Oh hey, another demo matching level. I'm sure it would be just as fun as the last one. It was not. I struggled so hard. One of the attempts, it just died. And I still lost. God, I love this game. Day 24 is the final level of Ancient Egypt. And no, I don't care about Zomboss. He doesn't count. Because he's a nerd. Anyway, day 24, another planar defense level. Take a wild guess on what we used. That's right, Australia. And with day 25 being Zomboss, and once again, he's a nerd. We finish Ancient Egypt and move on to the Pirate Seas.
Captain!
Yeah?
Welcome to the Pirate Seas, a world with enough scurvy to kill 100 pirates. Well, this level was very easy, you would have thought. Some of you may have noticed a large gap in the middle of the lawn. This is the main gimmick of the world. Along with some zombies, like the swashbuckler for an example, find a way to get over these large gaps, which we cannot plant on. Anyway, this level was beaten. Oh, and by the way, here's Stone Soundflower. Yeah, we unlocked them in, the day 24 in Ancient Egypt. I just completely forgot to mention them. Sorry about that. Day 22 introduces the Seal Zombie. With the power of bird-based transportation, which is probably, against their will, they fly over gaps and try to eat my crew of flowers. But Boomerang once again proves their importance within my team. Day 23 may just be that coconut minigame and have no worth to me within this challenge. The reward I get at the end is very, very worth it. That's right, folks. Snapdragon is also a flower. He's called one in PvZ Hero, along with being based off the dragon flower, making him allowed for this challenge. Anyway, with the addition of Snapdragon, I changed my strategy so Snapdragon is the most useful for him being short-ranged. So this level has nothing of actual note. I just wanted to introduce Snapdragon. He's really good. Day 5, locked and loaded. Day 6 has a lot of swashbuckler and seagull zombies. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about this level. It was not hard. The population of seagulls has probably gone down. Someone's probably happy with that. Day 7 introduces the barrel roller zombie. This guy attempts to crush my plants with his barrel. She also uses to transport imps to my front door, which I didn't ask for. And while he is meant to be dealt with something like spikeweed, Boomerang once again proves that Pierce is broken in this game. No barrel can stop him. Day 8 is the mini-boss stage. Day 9 has 3 lanes with gaps in them, which is a perfect amount for Snapdragon. Make some roasted pirate. Freshly cooked with some salmon and seagull. Eating another easy level. Day 10 introduces the Imp Cannon. He uses the power of gunpowder to transport themselves and try to become part of the circus. And failing very horribly at that. At first, I thought Boomerang was going to be able to deal with them when I was doing some testing. because of their damage output, but I was proven very wrong. This level was beaten, not much of a problem. Day 11. Coconut cannon. Booga booga. Day 12 is nothing interesting to talk about, but look at Snapdragon! He's become that one character from the Owl House. Oh my goodness, look at him. Once again, cheers to the artist who made these. You do a great job in making them. I'm really happy with them. They're much better than the ones that PopCap does. Anyway, once again, this level was nothing of actual note. So, just really want to show off the Snapdragon costume. Day 13 has me start paying taxes by producing 3,000 sun. The loan sharks are after me. Both Sunflower and Twin Sunflower both produce enough sun quite easily to beat this level. Day 14, plan your defense. So I think you know what that means. Australia. Skyrim Edition! This was another easy. Wait, Snapdragon, no! Day 15 was the first level that was harder than it was. Probably could have been. But the challenge of this level being to make sure that the zombies don't trample these flowers, this was going to be difficult. And with the high cost of Bloomerang and Snapdragon, I couldn't get enough down before I got ran. Losing first to a Swashbuckler, then losing again to a Buckethead. Suddenly, an idea appeared within my head that could have allowed me to win. Planting my sunflowers one tile to the right. And with this newfound defense, I gave me more than enough time to stall and get more plants along, allowing the completion of this level. Day 16 has me protect these two spring beans, and make sure that they don't get eaten while they eat, because that is the only time they're vulnerable. Well, while the barrel rollers are meant to be proven to be a big threat here, because they could run over my spring beans or release their imps if they eat them, Snapdragon proves that he is doing a greater job at dealing with them. Day 17 is probably one of the most pointless objectives for me to do in this entire game. With the level wanting to kill 20 zombies in 30 seconds. Do you want to see how pointless this is? I mean, like, just look. I can just wait for the huge wave of zombies to occur. And look, I have completed the task. And moving on, this level was boring. Day 18 is a locked and loaded level. It doesn't even give me sunflower. So, see any good movies recently? Day 19 has me both produce a certain amount of sun and not letting me let the zombies walk over the flowers. Well, I did lose once. I solved this problem of loss by not starting my attack with Skyrim. And with sunflower producing the required amount again, I passed the level. Day 20, another coconut cannon level. Please give me some actual levels. Ah! Day 21 has me produce more sun. Okay, look. What loan shark did I anger to have to produce this much sun to them? This level was not even that hard for the fact that we are in the last 4 levels of the world. The sun amount wasn't even hard to reach. I beat this level. Could have done me something interesting. Day 22 is a plan your defense level. So you know what that means? Yep, welcome back to Australia. Yes, I will continue to make this joke. You can't stop me. I think this is probably the most memorable level of Pirates Seas. With its low placement for you to build a defense, along with its high use of swashbucklers and imp cannons, making this a pretty memorable level out of the entire game. Probably one that most players think of when they think of Pirate Seas. Even though the imp cannons didn't even blow up this level because I am just that good at this game. Day 23 is never don't let your zombies go over the flowers level. Yippee! It was way too easy for the second to last level of the world. Did PopCap just like mess up the order of the levels and have this one appear sooner? I'll never know. This one was like super easy for like the last level, almost the last level. Seriously, PopCap, you could have done better. Day 24 is the final level of Pirate Seas, excluding the boss. Still a nerd, and turd is the hardest. Having to protect the spring beans and the gap lanes may look easy at first to some of you, but with them wombo comboing of sending swashbucklers to activate spring beans, and then sending out the seagull zombies to eat them up, There's also Captain Zombies having the parrots, which game they took the spring bean. Are you gonna? Oh, yep, there we go. And after failing to a seagull zombie, on my next step, they're letting a seagull zombie take a lumber. Don't worry, it's totally part of my plan. That wasn't by accident. Along with using spring beans plant food whenever they were in trouble, I managed to beat this level. Name is Zomboss being a walk in the park. I beat Pirate Seas. Now let's move on to the Wild West.
I don't speak German neither. I'm here for money.
Giddy up, y'all, to the Wild West, located in Texas. No, I am not kidding. The main gimmick of this world are these minecarts, which allow me to move my plants from the lawn wherever the minecarts can go, which were useful to me during the early parts of the level. Now, before we begin this level, we have quite a bit of gems now. I think it's time we unlock our first gem plant. So welcome everyone to Buttercup, our first wall plant, and our only wall plant. Meaning the mass murder of sunflowers is finally over. Hopefully. When Buttercup starts getting eaten by a zombie, you'll fling butter onto the ground, stunning any zombies who walk on it. And while some may seem to be a bit overpowered for this challenge, making it trivial, Buttercup's main weakness is their low HP, being easily overwhelmed when attacked by many zombies at once, compared to something like a walnut. But Buttercup also proves to be quite a useful aid in the later levels. So let's continue on. Day 2 introduces the Prospector zombie, who uses dynamite to blast jump over my defenses and eat them from behind. I may not have a plant that can attack from behind, but the minecarts can help with that. I can use Bloomerang to attack a zombie in front of them, then move them out of the way, so their Boomerang moves to attack the Prospector. Buttercup is also a good counter against them, thanks to their butter. And with this strat, they are countered and this level is beaten. Day 3 introduces the Piano Zombie, and with his horrid music skills, not only can he destroy an entire district and potentially kill someone's wife, causing an entire lore arc, it also causes basic zombies to start dancing, make them change lanes. And while Piano Zombie could be a threat in future levels, Snapdragon takes care of them easily. Day 4, another minigame level. Just skip it already, move on to Day 5 introduces the Poncho Zombie, who sometimes has a metal grate under their poncho, basically making them not much different from a basic zombie and bucketheads. This level was not that hard. These guys are not much of a threat. Day 6, another plan your defense level. Bloomerang, destroy. Day 7 is basically the same as Day 5, just without the Prospector zombies. The another threatened to fight in the level. So I have nothing to talk about here. We beat the level. Day 8, another mini-boss level. Look, there's so many times I can just say, alright, let's skip the level. And then I just said it. Day 9 is a locked another level. Come on, game, please, give me some content for me to actually show. Day 10 introduces the Chicken Wrangler zombie, who's known to be one of the most threatening zombies in the game, at least in this world. Releasing his horde of chickens when taking enough damage. Sadly for these chickens, they're really weak to pierce attacks, which Bloomerang and Snapdragon are really good at. Once again, pierce damage is really good in this game. No wonder Fume Shroom is the only ranged attacker with Pierce in the original game. If there were more, the game would have been easier than it already is. Day 7 has us leave a college student not have us going our spending limit, even with the high cost of my plants. The minecarts let me to have 2 boomerangs on each to protect every lane, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 12, another minigame level. But this time it gives me Boomerang. And now I want to see if this level can be possible with only Boomerang. It wasn't. Also a Buckethead. Okay, can this level be beaten with only Boomerang plus a single lightning read? Yes, it very much is. Day 13 introduces the Zombie Bull, who is in fact not a zombie, or a bull. They're a robot. Lying punk. Then they step on the lawn. The bull will begin its mighty charge towards your base, stopping at the first plant it runs into and flinging the imp on its back towards your plants. And we can just put a plant in front of it before it even enters the lane, so it just throws the input not that far. This level was simple even with the legend of Poncho and Prospector zombies would like to throw at me. Day 14, the return of the chicken wrangler zombie. Well, it wasn't easy at all. I want to bring attention to this bug I found. When chicken zombies touch buttercups and butter piles, they're just standing there. Day 15 contains the last objective to the game. I think. But the level wanted me to not let X amount of plants die. This could be hard. We use more than just basics and piano zombies. Day 16 is kind of new. With me moving around the endangered walnut, we need to keep close attention to the walnuts, make sure it doesn't get eaten for too long, or else it'll die. Plus, it was not too hard, but it has an older brother, a younger brother, but we'll be showing him everything. Older or younger, take her back. Day 17, another don't let the zombies cross the flowers. With the big threat here being zombie bulls, who could fling their imps into the lanes, but unfortunately for the imps, they're as frail as anything that isn't a flower, so everything else here allow me to beat the level. Day 18 is a planar defense level, and what that means... Wait, Australia didn't work? Okay, how about Skyrim? Oh, it didn't work either. Now hear me out. Yes, this worked somehow. Thanks, Buttercup. Told you would be useful later on. Day 19 gives me the objective of not spending a certain amount of sun, well, that's losing more than 2 plants. Boomerang was a good choice for this level thanks to their appears, so they can deal with large for the zombies, as they usually do. But this level also shows Buttercup's biggest weakness with their HP. And while this is not that big of a problem in most levels, because you know, you can just replace them, but with me not wanting to lose plants in these types of levels, it can be a bigger problem. A problem that will be shown in a level soon to come. Day 20 is another darn minecart level. Why so many? Day 21 Day 21 once again puts me on a spending limit. The objective: the zombies shall not pass the line. That's a little... This is a level that devs thought would be a challenge to players, but just isn't. That could be because of my high skill level with this game. Or, you know, maybe the level was harder early on, in the early days. I'll never know. But it was easy to beat. Another locked and loaded level. Alright, just move on to the next level, please. This level's just boring. Day 23 was by far the hardest level I had to face so far. Being only allowed to let 1 plant die? Yikes. And with how low Buttercup's HP is, making them susceptible to the process of consumption, this could be difficult. I lost twice trying to beat this level. First time was getting more plants eaten than I wanted to. And again, when chicken zombies crossed the flower line before Snapdragon could kill them. Winning an attempt was still very nerve-wracking. Chicken zombie eating a buttercup. My focus was put into hyper mode, keeping track of every buttercup and how much they eat. And with my ultra instinct focus in hand, this level was beaten. But God, was it a challenge. Day 24. Final level of Wild West. And the return of the minecart from day 16. Using a similar strategy as before, I beat this level, even with the large amount of chicken zombies and bulls. It was actually not that hard, considering the last level. And with Zomboss out of the way, we beat the Wild West. Now let's move on to the far future.
I must warn you about the year 3017.
Welcome to the far future. 3,000 years into the future to be exact. The main gimmick of this world are power tiles, which share plant food effects to other plants when on the same colored tile. And while this level is easy, it does introduce the first new zombie, Jetpack Zombie, who's basically functions similar to a balloon zombie, except they move slower when flying over plants. 3,000 years into the future, and somehow flying zombies got easier. They're even less of a problem thanks to our new flower, Daffodil, who's basically a daffodil. Try saying that 10 times fast. Along with slowing down any flying zombies, making them a better pea shooter, and, like this level, quite easy. Day 2 introduces the shield zombie, and with the power of future technology, it's a powerful shield that can block any projectile. That isn't pierced though, so Bloomerang and Snapdragon can easily take care of them, making this level also quite easy thanks to them. While Day 3 has nothing much going for it, it does introduce the first of many swarm attacks. But this one's spawning a bunch of spider imps from the sky. Don't ask how they got there, I don't know myself. But this level was still quite easy, because they only did the swarm attack twice in the entire level. I wish they did a bit more, maybe made a bit of a challenge. Day 4 shows off this world's big gimmick level. In these levels, every sun in here turns out to be actually a bomb! Oh, and sun producers are banned. If I try to collect one of these sun bombs before they touch the ground, they blow up, hitting both plants and zombies that's in the blast zone. While I find the idea of the gimmick interesting, I didn't really use it in the level, and it didn't add much more of a challenge to the level if it wasn't even there at all, making this level not that hard. Day 5 introduces the Robo-Cone Zombie, who's nothing more than just a damage sponge. Not much going for it besides its high health pool. There's not much I can say for this level in it other than that. Look at this cool split pea hat that I got. Game, right? Oh, like that hat. It's what are their names? What's their names? I can't remember. I told the it's the Ice Meister, Fire Meister. Two me's. Ah, yes, it's two top hats, of course. How foolish should be thinking otherwise. Day 6 is a locked and loaded level. Boring! Day 7 has not much going for it. No, I'm not gonna say much about it. There's nothing to say at all. Day 8 is just the mini-boss level, so I have not much really saying for it besides skip it and move on to the next one. Day 9 has me not plant more than 15 plants, but like all levels that have had this objective before, and all they'll have it after, it had zero effect on my strategy, making it a cakewalk. Day 10 introduces the Discotron, who's the future's disco zombie. Somehow Disco managed to survive all this time, and not in this timeline? That's quite a shock. And after a short period of time, they summoned 4 flying disco zombies in the same way its past version did. Daffodil and Bloomerang make a great combo when it comes to dealing with them, allowing me to beat the level and beat them at their own disco. Day 11 is a plan your defense level. Look, these levels are all kind of similar, so there's not much I can really say about them. I already have same strategy I usually do, just with Daffodil. So, moving on, folks. Day 12, while not having any new zombies, is the first non-conveyor level to feature Gargantuar, which is a bit of a shocker. It took 4 worlds to have one in a normal level. But, unfortunately, they only appear on the final wave, so they were not much of a threat. It's kind of sad, because Gargantuars are a pretty formidable foe if they're done earlier on in a level, which we'll see much later on. Day 13 introduces the Football Knock, who has to be one of the most annoying zombies in the game. With their main gimmick being to push any plant in front of it to the left, knocking them off the lawn if they are pushed while in the first lane. Thankfully, they're killed by one use of Snapdragon's plant food, making them not too hard to kill, but still annoying to deal with. Day 14 has me not spend more than 5,000 sun. And even if I somehow manage to lose a lawnmower at a point, next to a jetpack zombie, This level was beaten without too much of a problem. Day 15 has me protect these 3 citrons who have been planted super close to filling lawn, along with the consistently having to deal with bulky zombies such as cone mechs and bugheads to try and eat them. But thanks to Snapdragon's plant food, eating and damaging these bulky guys, saving the citrons and beating the level was easy. Day 16, a conveyor belt level, so skip, skippity, skip. Day 17 is a locked-in loadable, so once again, we're skipping. Who would have thought? Also, I just want to say before we move on to the next level that I am not the biggest fan of magnifying glass. I just never enjoyed their gimmick and what they do. I just always found them more of an annoyance than actually interesting. So yeah, I always want to share my opinion. You can all argue with me in the comments. That just boosts viewer attention. It also makes people see it more, so I benefit. Day 18 has been produced 6,000 sun, but thanks to the power tiles, along with planting twin sunflowers on them, and using plant food on them as well, I made this sun requirement a very much of a pushover to beat, and making level quite easy. Day 19 is another sun bomb level, and it wasn't much different from the previous one besides more stronger zombies and such, making it not really more interesting to talk about, nor much of a challenge like the previous one, so can't really say much about it. So, have you seen any good games or movies lately? You wanna really see some good content, or know where I stream this? Watch me on Twitch. Day 20 has me protecting an entire row of starfruits, who are once again close to the end of the lawn. With the level sending tons of shield zombies, blocking the starfruit's projectiles, it made it quite difficult to protect them. But thanks to Snapdragon Boomerang, along with the power tiles allowing me to have 3 Snapdragon plant food abilities at once active, the starfruits were protected and the level was beaten. Day 21 had me both produce 5,000 sun, but also not allow me to plant more than 15 plants. Using the same strategy as last sun produced level, this level wasn't too hard to beat, even with the abundance of mechs that they've thrown out at me. Day 22 is another planar defense level. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I might just start saying skip to these because they're pretty boring and not that entertaining to watch, so you know. Next level, editor, who's me. Day 23 is me not spend more than 2,250 sun, along with not planting more than 15 plants. You know, most of these levels could be more of a challenge if they use their special zombies more. They just don't really. Making this level another one that is just not hard to beat, fortunately. Day 24 is the last sun bomb level we'll be seeing. And once again, just like the previous two, it isn't that hard. But like, I don't really know what else to say, because like, this is the last level. Besides Zomboss, but like, still, kinda sad. It's the last level, once again, not that much of a challenge. Hopefully later on there'll be more of a challenge. And with the Zomboss out of the way, Far Future has been beaten. And now, let's move on to the Dark Ages. There's no match for beans and oranges and holograms. And so we have beaten the Far Future and earned our Spaceman trophy.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've heard worse.
Welcome to the Dark Ages, a world that has been swept by the plague. Oh, and also sun no longer falls from the sky. There's that too, I guess. Now, before I get into the world's gimmicks, I need to pick a new gem plant to purchase. Now, who to choose? True. But, since it's a newer world, I'm going to allow myself to unlock a new flower, so... We got Old Snapdragon, Shrinking Violet. Who else? This Ice Bloom. You and... Top Hat, which one should I get? Which one do you think I should get? At every level you can. I think the weakest one is like premium plants. They're all pretty decent. I guess Void Orchard, because they're like the most expensive for this world, so I guess I'll pick them for content. I won't be seeing Void Orchard for a bit, so I'm not going to talk about them till then. And as stated before, due to the fact that it's nighttime, sun no longer falls from the sky, which limits our sun by a ton of how much my plants cost. But thankfully, there are tombstones that, when broken, give 100 sun, which could be very useful in the later levels. This level wasn't too hard, but I did have to restart once, so that's a sign that this world will have some challenge to it, unlike the other ones. Well, Night 2 is pretty similar to Night 1, besides the addition of bucket heads, and the game forcing 2 shrooms into my team without my permission. Hopefully the game doesn't do this in later levels as an absolute annoyance, but I'm sure it won't. I'm sure it'll be merciful. Right? Night 3 brings us plant food tombstones, which give me free plant food with a short, which would be quite useful for getting more sun in later levels. The level also introduces necromancy, this world's big gimmick, which will summon zombies from any tombstones ever made on the lawn, but tending to summon basics and imps more often than others. I also now finally get to introduce our newest flower, Wood Orchard, being based off an orchard. You can insta-kill a zombie every 20 seconds, turning them into a black hole that will attract other zombies into the same lane as the black hole. And while I did pick Void Orchard as a joke originally, thinking they will have not any use in this world due to their high cost, but oh boy how wrong I was back then. Well, Night 4 is just another conveyor belt level. I do want to mention that I am quite a fan of Hit Mushroom. From both games, especially was a bit more useful in the first one, and also, even if I couldn't use him in this one, I still enjoy him. Anyway, let's skip. Night 5 introduces the Jester Zombie, who will affect almost any projectile attack. But thankfully, Draftadil's attacks can't be reflected by them, which makes a lot of sense because it is just air, can't really reflect air, I think. So, as long as I don't play any bloomerangs, I should be fine. This level wasn't too hard either, even with them. Night 6 is another planar defense level, which, for now, I'm just gonna be skipping because, they're kind of boring, so skip. Night 7 issues the Night Zombie, spelled with a K. We're literally just stronger bucket heads in all of the sense of the word. This level wasn't too hard, and thanks to Buttercup's stunning and Snapdragon's damage, the night zombies were easy to deal with, making this level not that hard. Day 8 is a locked-in, loaded level. Hey, did you know mushrooms aren't plants? Night 9 shows this world's gimmick level, where potions will spawn into the ground to both limit my planting space, as well as buffing zombies who walk over them, either making them take less damage or increasing their movement speed and eating. And I struggled quite a bit with this level thanks to the potions, making night zombies even more bulky than they already are, along with all the other zombies, being able to eat more and just take more damage. But this level was beaten nonetheless, so let's continue on. Night 10 is the mini-boss stage. Yay! Night 11 introduces the Wizard Zombie, who will turn my flowers into sheep, with them only going back to normal once the wizard who turned them into a sheep is killed. While I did lose once during this level, it wasn't that much of a challenge, but I am quite a fan of the Wizard Zombie, because I think their mechanic is pretty interesting, but this level was beaten without too much difficulty. Night 12 has one of the most unique gimmicks I've seen in this challenge so far, where I have to protect a row of puff shrooms, and since in PvZ2 they only last a limited time before vanishing, I have to give them plant food to reset their timer so they don't die on me, making me lose level. And this level could have been much harder if there weren't so many plant graves all over the place, letting me keep the mushrooms alive for quite an amount of time without having to worry about it, making this level, unfortunately, quite easy. I wish it was a bit harder. Night 13, another conveyor belt level, and also introducing one of the worst plants in the game, Peanut. He sucks. Why does he exist? He has no purpose. He should die. Night 14 is the first level in this challenge that is impossible by my rules. This level I have to produce 5,000 sun, but all sun producers are banned besides Sunbeam. There's also tons of sun tombstones, but I can't rely on those only because they'll only reach the halfway point for the amount of sun they need to produce. If they did reach all the way, I would still need to use Gravebuster to break them, and since he isn't a flower, that still makes this level impossible. And this level is possible in every other way besides the objective. So, with this first impossible level in my hand, I beat the level and moved on. Night 15 is another planar defense level, and also still pretty simple. Oh, so can I just say that after in these later levels, Void Archers just become really useful, more than I expected when I first recorded this. So, yeah, shoutouts to Void Archers. They're pretty powerful, more than I expected for this world. Night 16 introduces the King Zombie, where after one of the most tragic deaths in all of gaming, he comes onto the lawn, staying at the end, where he'll turn any basic zombie that are in the top and bottom lanes that he's in into night zombies. This level had him use a strategy of 2 lanes of sunflowers, which gave me tons more sun so I can have more Void Archers to insta-kill any night zombies that the King Zombies created, allowing me to beat the level. Night 17 has the return of the evil potions to buff the zombies once again. And during my second attempt at this level, I saw the perfect opportunity to use Snapdragon's plant to help me gain a bit more sun to help me out with these potion zombies. And after that, this level was beaten. Also, I just want to say that I'm thankful that Gargantuars are affected by potions. Thank you, Popcat, for having some mercy on my soul. Night 18 is a locked and loaded level. Yay! Also, if anyone knows what the costume I have Sunshroom wearing is based off, that'd be really helpful. Just tell me in the comments. I'll pin it, I guess. I don't know. Night 19 has me protect these 3 magnetrons from being devoured after many failed attempts from the magnetrons getting eaten multiple times. I caved in and decided to use Gravebuster to only use in the first few sun tombs at the start of the level, which gave me more than enough sun so I can get some Void Archers in the same lanes that the magnetrons weren't in, and planting Snapdragons in the lanes that they were in, making the perfect setup for me to give Snapdragon the max amount of damage and usability. I mean, to beat the level. And I know some of you are going to say that I cheated down in the comments, but in the end, this is my challenge. And this level is most likely possible without using Gravebuster at the start of the level. I just don't really have the stubbornness to try. And hey, why don't you guys give it a try and let me know if it is possible. And with Night 20 being the zombie boss level, me still not caring about him, this world has been beat. And I just want to say before moving on, that out of all the worlds, this has to be my favorite. And if I have to pick like the tier list and how much I enjoyed each world, this would have to be like high A S tier at least, because each level was both either challenging or fun, and just the right amount where it wasn't just like hair pulling amount of challenging. And hopefully the next world will be equally amount as enjoyable, right? Anyway, with Zomboss defeated, let's move on to the Big Wave Beach. And he's dead. Let's go. Pain. Now, a localized or generalized unpleasantly bodily sensation or complex of sensations causes mild to severe physical discomfort. Emotion, distress, and typical results from body disorders, such as injury or disease. Or goddamn Big Wave Beach! Welcome to the Big Wave Beach, a world where the sun is shining once again, and water has taken over most of the lawn. And not allow me to plant any non-flying plants unless they're planted on a lily pad. And which brings me to my next point for this world, lily pad. And while lily pad are a kind of leaf, and from the research that I've done, they're the leaves of water lilies, which are a type of flower. Which brings me to the problem which I like to call Schrodinger's flower, where a plant is both not a flower and a flower at the same time due to the water lilies that the lily pads I'm pretty sure can be grown, but I'm 100% sure on that. But I just said that I'm only going to be using lily pad when I have no land tiles to plant any of my flowers, because I need to harder. And with that problem out of the way, let's move on to the next level, because this one was not so hard. But oh boy, it's gotta get worse. Day 2 introduces the gimmick of a rising and lowering tide, where the water will either lower to get close to the end of the lawn, some more land tiles for me to plant my flowers on, or rising back to the left side of the lawn, drowning any flowers that have been planted on the pre-planted lily pads the level is generously given me. Other than that, this level isn't too hard. Also, I just want to say that it's already day 2 and I already have like 3 flags to deal with. This is not a good sign for the future levels. Day 3, another conveyor belt level. Hoorah! Day 4 introduces the low tide ambush, where the water will go low, while zombies spawn along with it on the ground tiles that appear. But besides that, this level is pretty easy. Day 5, another conveyor belt level. Great. Day 6, fix most of my plants for me. Well, at least they gave me sunflower. This level is mainly hard due to the fact that I only have 2 seed slots to select plants in, eliminating my selection by a lot. And after some discussion in my live chat, they agreed that I'm allowed to use lily pad if the game gives them to me in a level, just such as this level. And picking Snapdragon Void Orchid, probably my 2 best plants that I have, they beat this level. Oh, and also Snorkel Zombies was introduced in this level. They work the same way as they did in the easy one. Day 7 is the level where I finally pick this world's new gem plant for me to use, which is Power Lily, who is based off a water lily. Power Lily's gimmick is that they give me a free plant food, but with the downside that they take 60 seconds to recharge. Using the plant food in the pre-planted lily pads so I can get more places to plant plants on the water tiles, this level was beaten. Day 8 is walnut bowling, but water, making it different. Look, just skip this, I really don't know what else to say about it. Day 9 brings the grand return of the rot, taking over the only 2 land tiles in this level. Nothing much else happens in this level besides that I lost 2 lawnmowers at a point, but other than that, this level is easy. Day 10, another conveyor belt level. To be honest, I've never really been a fan of the beach. Day 11 once again gives me a bunch of plants that I can't use. Great. This level also introduces the surfer zombie, who will surf until he hits a land tile, in which he'll wipe out dude. That was a horrible impression. And start carrying a surfboard above his head, making him basically immune to any lobbing plants, which we don't have, but still. And he'll attack the first plant that he sees with his surfboard, leaving it there until it's destroyed, making me unable to just plant anything there. Well, they can be quite annoying to deal with, especially later on. Especially once again with their surfboard problem. I just used the same Snapdragon Void Orchid combo like I did last time to beat this level. Day 12, a plan your defense level. Like, once again, I'm sorry for just skipping these, but like, they're all the same and they're all just boring. I can't just make the same joke over and over again. Actually, I can. Day 13 has me produce 2,000 sun, will not allow me to plant more than 16 plants. Using Twin Sunthrower to get the sun amount that I need to produce, and along with using Void Orchid to deal with the zombies, I somehow beat this level with this really weird strategy, which probably should not have worked. Day 14 is just a locked and loaded level. Fantastic. Day 15 has me protect this entire row of potato mines who have been planted at the end of the land tiles, meaning any surfer zombie can just surf by all my defenses to make them detonate, causing me to lose the level. And along with every other zombie can just walk up to them and blow them up if I'm not careful enough, I have very room to work with. And this is one of the first of many levels that took me many tries to beat. Namely to the point where I brought Lily Pad to give me some extra space to plant defenses. Even then I still lost quite a few more times. But I did beat this level once I used the power of this, using as many snapdragons as possible, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 16 is the mini-boss level, and even somehow I struggled with this. That is not a good sign for things to come. Day 17 introduces the Octo-Zombie, who enslaves octopuses to throw at my flowers, trapping them and making them unable to attack. And while they may sound quite similar to the wizard zombies from Dark Ages, the key difference between them is that the octopuses need to be attacked in order for them to be destroyed instead of having to kill the Octo-Zombie themselves. Meaning, if they manage to trap all flowers in a single lane and I have no way to damage the octopuses to destroy them, any zombie can just walk straight to the lava without any problem. And while this level wasn't too much of a challenge, the addition of Octo-Zombie is going to prove to be quite a huge problem later on. Day 18 is another conveyor belt level. Yay! I'm having so much fun. I'm not. Day 19 is another level that picked most of my plants for me. Well, at least I know I'll get some sort of sunshroom. What are you doing here? This level was quite hard and took me quite a few tries to beat. My first idea was using twin sunflower and snapdragon, but the idea didn't last long. For my second attempt, I rented an extra seed slot so I have a bit more options for me to use, and bringing Void Orchard to do some of the classic strategy that I used in the past. But sadly, this also didn't work. And after a bit of thinking, a chat member suggested I use Boomerang, so I decided to try out, along with bringing Buttercup. And somehow this worked. I really don't know how, but it did. Day 20 has only one land tile for me to plant on, so I allowed myself to bring Lily Pad to this level. And other than that, this level has not too much for me to talk about, so let's move on. Day 21 is just a conveyor belt level, but I am technically beating in my rules because of homing thistle. Where during this stream, I discovered that thistles were a type of flower, because I always thought homing thistle was a type of cactus, but the more you know. Anyway, this level is still boring. Day 22. Day 22. It introduces the spawn of the devil, the most infamous zombie in all of Big Wave Beach. The Fisherman Zombie. What their gimmick is that they'll cast their fishing line to drag any plant closer to them. And if a plant gets pulled too far, they will drown in the waters of the beach. And while this level isn't too hard, the wrath of the fisherman will be soon seen very soon. Day 23 has me protect these 3 banana monkeys, who are going to be eaten by the horrors of the ocean. Me and my chat came to the conclusion that I'm allowed to use these banana monkeys because if they were replaced with something like a pea shooter, they would still attack, making no difference if I used them. And also, since they're pre-planted plants, me using them is not breaking any of my rules. This level also was designed around me using them with the amount of zombies they sent out in the early game. This level was a bit challenging, but wasn't hard enough for me to suffer through it, which is what we'll be seeing later on. But let's move on. Day 24, more ocean walnut boating. Yay! Oh god. Please, game, just give me something interesting. Day 25 has me not spend more than 3,500 while defeating 10 zombies in 5 seconds. And while the second objective is still one of the most pointless ones in the game, the first one is the big problem and why this level took me many attempts to beat. I once again used Boomerang to beat this level, but this level was still quite a challenge even with them. But I beat it nonetheless. Let's move on. Day 26 is another conveyor belt level, so skip, sir! Day 27 is another level that picked most of my plants. But thankfully, this level gives me Twin Sunflower, so I used the Snapdragon and Void Orchard combo, the good old classic, which allowed me to beat this level. Day 28. Day 28. You may think that this level will be pretty easy. I just don't have to lose more than 12 plants. Can't seem that hard. But oh boy, was it hard. Now where do I begin? Alright, Void Orchard. I wanted to first test out on my first attempt if the Void Orchard's voids count as losing a plant if they get wood. And apparently they do. I guess the void is a flower, I guess. Who would have thought? Anyway, what else is that? Alright, every special zombie in this level. Let me count each one off. Surfer zombies, they can crush my flowers with their surfboard. Octo zombies. Throw in an octopus, and if they're on a lily pad gets eaten. Both of them die. It's a 2-for-1 special! The fishermen! Do I need to talk about them? And even the snorkel zombies are somehow an issue in this level. The snorkel zombies, because I have no way to kill them. Yippee! After a while, I decided to go for my Bloomerang Buttercup strategy, because that has not failed me in the past, but after a while of more fails, who would have thought, I decided to get some more Gemium plants to see and try and help me. First, I tried mistletoe, and fun fact, the white dots on a mistletoe are flowers apparently. So yeah, I'm allowed to use them. But apparently, they were changed in Reflourished, making them no longer deal damage and just freeze zombies, so that wasn't very helpful. Next up, a chat member suggested I use an Ice Bloom, who's based off a golden star, just like Gold Bloom is, so they're also count. And even if I use them counts as losing a plant, they are quite useful since they can freeze zombies and you get a bit of extra defense. But even after getting them, after a bunch more tries, I still failed. After, another chatter said, apparently, artichokes are a type of flower. And I was desperate enough at that point to use them, so here's the artichoke. It was based to stop an artichoke, so yeah. What they do, what do they do? I forgot. This is all in one go. By the way, there is no script for this part. Oh right, they attack special special zombies. I can't speak. So anyway, yeah, artichoke, the priority special zombies, which includes Octo and Fishermen. So yeah, that's helpful, especially if they're plant food doing a lot of damage. But even after using them, and many more attempts, I still lost. Over and over again until I just snapped. And I just got plant food, like plant Zen Garden boost for all my flowers. Is this cheating? Yes, it is. I'm aware, but I was brought to insanity by this level, so I don't care. And eventually, I beat it. If at last. Day 29 is just it's just another planar defense level, but I need to calm down, because like what happened last level is it was crazy. Just like, you know, it was, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's just move on. This level, I just used artichoke. Day 30 has me protecting an entire row of crocodiles, but like, what else can I even say about this level? Same problems as day 28, there's all the same zombies, as in with all the same problems. And this level did take me a few tries to beat, but using the same strategy as day 28, minus the Zen boosts, this level was beaten, but god, after day 28, I'm just tired. Day 31, just another locked in a little bit. While here, I just want to talk about Big Wave Beach for a bit, because my god, is it not a good world. If I, like, remember that tier list from earlier back in Dark Ages? If I have to do that again, this would be, like, at a bottom tier, because, like, it is not good. It has a few fun levels, but it's just clouded by all the bad and all the just spamming of zombies. Especially its special ones. So, yeah, this level world in general is just not really fun. But let's just skip and move on. And with Zomboss being irrelevant with his big shark thing machine, this level was beaten, and along with the world being beaten. Now, let's move on to the Frostbite Caves. Steam Age could be a pain. And then the new world update. Carnivorous Carnival, or whatever it's called. I can never remember the first half of its name. Or know how to... Welcome to the Frostbite Caves, a frozen over wasteland that's worse than the average winter in Canada. And I would know. The first main gimmick of this world are sliding tiles, which will move zombies in the direction that the arrows are facing. And they could have some neat straps on a Snapdragon, meaning they're kind of both a hindrance and a help at the same time. This level was easy, being the first level and all, so let's move on. Day 2 introduces the world's second gimmick, the Icy Wind, which will cause any non-fire plants to become slightly frozen. There are 2 stages of freeze before a plant is completely frozen, needing them to be attacked or defrosted to be free from their icy prisons. Thankfully, Snapdragon is a fire plant, making them immune to the icy winds. Unfortunately, they can't heat any plants around them because all their heating is eternal. But they're still a great pick for this world, and having them planted in the back lanes allows them to damage any other icy frozen plants to defrost them. Even with this new gimmick, this world in level was easy. Day 3 is just a conveyor belt level, so you already know the drill, folks. Skip. Day 4 introduces the Hunter Zombie, who will pelt snowballs at main plants, causing them to gain a stage of freeze. But thankfully, once again, Snapdragon's a great counter to them, not being infected by their snowballs because they're a fire plant and the heat is too powerful for the ice. Making this level another easy one, so let's move on. Day 5, another conveyor belt level. That was short, quick, usually a larger gap than this, but skip. Day 6 picks most of my plants for me, but thankfully they were nice enough to give me sunflower. So I just did my usual Snapdragon Void Action strategy, which allowed me to beat this level, so let's move on. Day 7 introduces zombies that are frozen in ice.
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael! Help me!
Who will not start moving towards the end of my lawn until they are freed from the ice. But other than that minor gimmick, this level was pretty easy, so let's move on. Day 8 is another conveyor belt level. Boring! Skip! Day 9 introduces the Dodo Riders imps, who will fly over both sliding tiles and plants, along with eating them from time to time. These guys could be quite a threat if I don't have enough attackers to deal with them quick enough, because they could just fly over all my defenses. But they weren't a huge problem in this level, so let's move on. Day 10 is another conveyor belt level? This is starting to become a pattern. Day 11 once again picks most of my plants for me. Sadly though, it gives me sunshroom instead of sunflower, so I had to bring them myself, along with using the last 2 seed slots to bring Snapdragon and Buttercup. This level also has frozen ice head zombies on the top 2 lanes, which Snapdragon can't really deal with well enough without use of his plant food. So knowing that Snapdragon's range is 2 tiles in front, I set up an army of Snapdragons to kill the zombies where they just at the right range where they can't unfreeze the frozen zombies. And along with using Buttercup to slow zombies, I beat this level without too much of an issue. Day 12 is a planar defense level, so as said previously, we are going to be skipping these from now on, so continue on! Day 13 has me make sure the zombies don't work over with flowers. Once again, using my Snapdragon Void Orchard strategy, this level wasn't too hard. I'm pretty sure none of the zombies even got close to the flower line. Even with the Garg that they've thrown at me at the end of the level, I'm pretty sure this has been the earliest a Garg has shown up in a level before. But let's continue on to the next level. Day 14 is a locked-in loaded level. Gosh darn it, I want to play more. Come on, game. So skip it. Day 15 has me protect 2 pepper bolts. And they're actually quite useful in this level thanks to them being able to melt any frozen plants around them. And this level also introduces the gem plant that I've picked for this world, Broccoli, who is obviously based off of broccoli. And they are on the same note as Dartichoke, both being in a type of flower called a flower bed. Which, for future plants like them, they will go under a term that I like to call honorary flowers. And what broccoli does is it's another defensive plant like Buttercup, meaning we have more defensive options, along with smacking any zombies that's in front of it, causing them to get stunned for a short amount of time. And picking broccoli was a great choice for both this world and later ones. And this level wasn't too hard either, thanks to Pepperpool defrosting any plants around them, allowing me to beat the level. Day 16 is just a mini boss level, so you know what that means, folks. Skip. Day 17 introduces the Troglobite zombie, who will push any ice blocks he comes close to, along with having 3 frozen imps when he spawns. The Troglobites weren't too much an issue in this level thanks to both Snapdragon, along with the level giving me fume shrooms to deal with them in the lanes that they spawn in, making this level not too hard. Day 18 is another conveyor belt level. Woohoo! Just skip it. Day 19 once again picks most of my plants for me. Thank goodness to give me sunflower this time. The main issue with this level is that the first row is blocked off by frozen plants, and because I have no plants that can attack from behind or defrost them with heat, that row is unusable for the entire level. But Snapdragon once again carries this level, along with Broccoli also just being great overall. And so, we beat this level and continue on. Day 20 has not much going for it besides the layout of the slime pit, making me build this pretty interesting setup, but other than that, this level wasn't hard at all. Day 21 is just a conveyor belt level, but it does let me use Fire Pea, which had to be one of my favorite plants as a kid back in the day. The memories. But anyway, skip. Day 22 introduces the Weasel Holder zombie, who's the ancient ancestors of the Chicken Wrangler zombie. They will summon a horde of weasel zombies that will be unaffected by the slime tiles. But just like their western cousins, these guys are not much of a threat. Being that Snapdragon's good with dealing with weasel zombies, along with Void Orchard being the insta-kill them without having the weasels come out. Other than that, this level was not that hard at all. Day 23 has me protect a row of charred guards, with the level spawning snowstorms, which are equivalent to the sandstorms in ancient Egypt, and spawn zombies on top of the charred guards to weaken them, making them more defenseless. And even with that, no other zombie got near my shard guards, making this level not that much of a challenge. Day 24 has me produce 2,500 sun, but this level wasn't that hard even with this objective. Then again, most of the sun producing objectives aren't that hard because I just have sunflower to begin with, so, you know, not that hard. Day 25, another conveyor belt level. Woo! Let's go, another conveyor belt level. Skip. Day 26 has 3 frozen weasel hoarder zombies at the front lanes, but using my classic Snapdragon Void Orchard strat allowed me to beat this level, as well as only freeing one of the weasel zombies near the end of the level, making it not much of a challenge. Day 27 has me protect these 3 rotobegas from the horrors of the ice-covered zombies, using once again my Snapdragon Void Orchard strat, and it worked pretty well with the rotobegas thanks to the way they attack. Along with using blockweed to make sure the zombies can't use sliding tiles to get close to them, this level was beaten without too much of a difficulty. Day 28 is another plan your defense level, so boring, skip, yada yada yada. I'm running out of gags and bits for these parts, I'm gonna be honest. Day 29 is just a locked and loaded level. Told you I ran out of bits for these skip parts. Day 30 is just the zombie boss level, but I would like to take this time to talk about my thoughts on the world, and I very much enjoyed it. I'm definitely still happy that I picked broccoli as my gemium plant for this world. But this world was pretty fun. I enjoyed the mechanics and the way it had me build my strategy around the ice mechanics. So yeah. And now with zombie boss out of the way, I beat the world. Now let's move on to the Lost City. It doesn't feature gargantuars, now I'm thinking about it.
Where am I? Oh, wait!
Welcome to the Lost City, or at least was Lost City. The main gimmick of this world are the sun tiles. By placing a flower in them, the ancient power of the Aztec flowers of old rise again, causing sun to spawn out of them from time to time. Which means I can get tons of sun in these levels really quickly, thanks to them, allowing my defense to be built much faster than any other levels. And with this one easily finished, being the first level and all, let's continue on. Day 2 finally gives me a new flower that isn't a gem plant. Red Stinger, who is based off of the red ginger. And their gimmick is quite interesting, acting like a repeater in the first 3 lanes, but getting more defensive the further away they are, which I won't really be using, mainly keeping them in the back for maximum damage, which will be quite useful in the later levels and worlds. And this level also introduces the parachute zombie, who spawns from the sky. Still don't know how they got up there. And these guys will eat any plant that's under them, or just fall and act like a basic zombie. And they're not the biggest threats in the world, but they can be annoying depending on how my defense is set up. But let's move on. Day 3 is a conveyor belt level. Skip. Day 4 introduces my next gem plant that I've purchased, the turkey pulp, who is based off a soybean. Now I know some of you guys say that they're not a flower, they're a bean. But in fact, they are a flower and a bean. It means I'm allowed to use them because they are a flower. The turkey pulp's main gimmick is that they'll throw weak tofu turkeys, which will last for a short period of time before dying a horrid death. And they pair great with any good stalling effects, allowing the turkeys to deal more damage. And this level also introduces my next zombie I have to counter, the excavator zombie, who's done the one thing no other zombie has sought to do before. Bring a shovel! Which allows him to dig up plants, throwing them behind him. But sadly for him, Blockily counters him, being unable to be dig up by them. So with this information, the level is beaten. Day 5 is another conveyor belt level. Ah! Day 6 has not much going for it, besides forcing AKEE into my team. And despite their look, they are not a flower. They are a type of fruit. So I will not be hearing anything about them being a flower. The propaganda about this must stop. Anyway, this level was easy. Day 7 introduces the parasol zombie, who is really trying to get bad luck for opening an umbrella inside. Anyway, their main gimmick is that they'll block any lobbed projectiles, which isn't really a problem because I don't have any lobbing plants, so yeah. Oh, and also Excavator Zombie will block any straight shooting projectiles. I kind of forgot to mention this, sorry. This level wasn't hard, it was also being quite fast. Huh. I'm sure this won't be a multiple occurring thing. Day 8 has me make sure zombies don't trample the flowers. Well, this could be interesting. Wait, hold on, what's happening? Why is it moving? What? Wait, hold on. What do you mean this is a locked and loaded level? I wasn't informed of this! Day 9's a conveyor belt level. Day 10 once again forces a plant into my team, and that's really it. Another easy level. I even managed to beat with only turkeys. Right. Do you try doing that? Hahaha. Day 11 introduces to the dragonfly zombie, who's another poor creature who's forced to carry zombies around against their will. But once the dragonfly dies, the zombie gets dropped and they'll carry on with their unlife. So anyway, I used Drafted to counter them, which slowed down the dragonflies and allowed me to beat the level. Day 12 has me produce 5,000 sun, but thanks to the abundance of sun tiles, this objective is easy. Also, this level takes the crown for the earliest level to feature Gargantuar by far. So congrats, Lost City Day 12. You did something interesting. Other than that, the rest of the level was easy. Day 13's another conveyor belt level, so you know. Skip. And day 14 is a locked and loaded level, so... Day 15 has me protect 2 AKEEs from the zombies. And Red Stinger and Turkey Pulp made a great team in this level, along with Blockily dealing with any excavator zombies that try to get close to these endangered plants. And this level was beaten, once again, fairly quickly. Huh. Day 16 is just a mini-boss level, so you know. You know. Day 17 introduces the importers, with their main gimmick being that when they walk on a sun tile, they'll proceed to set up shop and bring out their entire extended family, who won't stop coming until the tent is destroyed. Well, they could be a threat. Because they're imps, they're fairly weak, and if they all die before, you know, touching a sun tile, they just drop their backpack on the ground and are completely yours. And this level is not much of a challenge, so let's move on. Day 18 is just a conveyor belt level, so yeah. Skip. Day 19 gives me my next new flower, Stalia, who's based off a dahlia. And their main gimmick is that they will slow down any zombie in a free area. It should be quite useful to give me some more time to build up my defenses, if I'm having some issues with that. And other than getting to meet a brand new flower to my team, this level was quite easy. Also, like, once again, quite easy to quickly beat him. Huh, it's starting to become consistent. Day 20 has nothing new or challenging to mention, but hey, the sun towers are shaped like a Z. That's neat, right? And again, this level was beaten rather quickly. Why does this keep happening? Day 21's a locked and level. It's a locked and loaded level. Day 22 is a locked and loaded level, but it does introduce the trap tiles, which will either set the entire row on fire or summon a boulder, which are quite interesting, but sadly don't really get used outside of these locked and loaded levels, so yeah, kind of a disappointment, but let's move on. Day 23 introduces the treasure hunter zombie, who's basically just a swashbuckler zombie from Pirate Seas, swinging onto the lawn like some other treasure hunting character that won't be named. And I just don't know why, but I've always hated them. They're just so bulky and feel like they take forever to kill. I just dislike them. This level was a bit challenging, with it having a Garg in the middle lane, me not having the best defense to deal with, which made me sacrifice a lawnmower to not lose my whole defense. But other than that, it was beatable. Day 24 has me protect a row of flowers. And this level was a bit of a challenge thanks to the treasure hunter zombies that could swing in close to the flowers and wait, what? It's already over? But I'm not even finished talking, I still have some other stuff to explain. Alright then, I guess other than that, it wasn't that challenging, but still, it was a bit of a challenge. Day 25 picks most of my plants in, which thankfully includes sunflowers, thank God. Red Stinger and Cherry Poke are also once again a great team dealing with the zombies in this level, and the level's already over? Jeez, these levels are moving quite fast. The next one, I guess? Day 26 is another level that forces a plant into my team. Like, come on game, could you please stop? But besides that, this level hasn't much, and it's already done. Alright then. That was quick. Day 27 introduces the Turquoise Skull Zombie, who will absorb the unmatched power of the sun and fire a laser that can kill most non-one bats. And besides that, this level's proved to be quite a challenge with the amount of zombies we sent out at a time. We were barely able to make it a win, but I still beat it, so let's move on. Day 28 is just a lock and load level, but it is one of the first levels in a lock and load levels in a while that actually allowed me to beat it with only flowers, so hey, that's pretty impressive. But other than that, let's just skip it and move on. Day 29, oh damn, let me tell you, that was quite the level, let me tell you. They sent out tons of Gargs for the level, and oh, it's already done. Come on game, you can at least let me finish talking. Come on. Day 30 brings the return of the Rot, taking over the first 3 rows of my lawn. And in this level, I made the foolish mistake of taking Red Stinger. We're getting their gimmick of getting weaker farther away up there from the start of the lawn. And because of this mistake, I had to, I only lost one lawnmower in the level and it's already over? Alright then, let's move on. Huh. Day 31 is just a locked and load level. Boo! Boo, I say! Boo! Day 32 is just a zombie boss level, but it's, that time where I talked about the world, and it's kind of boring if I'm gonna be honest, because I finished a lot of the levels so quickly, I couldn't really have much of a challenge in it, and the ones where I did have a challenge, I still, beat them on my first try. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this world. But now with Zomboss out of the way, I've beaten this world, now let's move on to the Neon Mixtape Tour. Oh, Dr. Brains in his live chat successfully beaten Velocity.
I hope it's Bonnie.
Welcome to the Neon Mixtape Tour, a world that brings us to a forgotten era, the 80s. And now the main game of this world is actually the music, which will change the speed zombies walk depending on what music is playing, and give some zombies special abilities if their music is playing, which I'll explain what specific songs are when the zombies introduce. And as always, being day 1 and all, this level was easy, so let's move on. Day 2 introduces the punk zombie, and when the rock music is playing, they'll start headbanging and kicking everything in their path out of their way, like a real rock star. And these guys are quite annoying. Then again, every zombie who messes with my symmetry is annoying. And this level was easy, so let's move on. Day 3 is a conveyor belt level, so Day 4 has nothing new going on in it besides forcing 2 non-flowers into my team. And other than that, nothing new is happening, so let's move on. Day 5 has me protect some plants from the 80s horror. Now, I've heard some horror stories about this level being quite challenging, but other than some close calls here and there, this level wasn't as challenging as I heard. Both Red Stinger and Tokyo Pole pretty much carried this level along with Blockily, so let's move on. Day 6 is another conveyor belt level, so yeah, skip. Bummer, dude. Day 7 introduces the glitter zombie, and when the pop music's playing, it will produce a line of pure glitter that will make any zombie behind them invincible, along with insta-killing anything that comes into contact with them. And they're fine to deal with, but under the right conditions, so they can be quite a pain to deal with. But this level isn't too hard, so let's move on. Day 8 has nothing new going on in it, but Red Stinger did quite well in carrying this level, and they will continue to do so in the future levels as well. So, this level being not too difficult, let's continue on. Day 9 is another locked and loaded level, but I think this is one of the more iconic locked and loaded levels with all the sunflowers you need to produce the sun requirement being all the way in the back of the front of the lawn, whatever side you want to call it. Because to be honest, I'm pretty sure throughout this entire season been flip-flopping between them, so yeah, call them when you wanted to. But yeah, this is just a locked level, loaded level, so skip. Day 10 is a conveyor belt level, let's just skip it. Day 11 is another locked and loaded level. That's 3 in a row. Good job, game. I think that's the first time this has happened. Or maybe not. I don't know. Day 12 introduces the DJ zombie, and when the rap music is playing, they'll start doing an epic beatbox and swing their mic around, turning anything in a 3x3 area if something gets a bit too close to them in their epic rap battle. I've always had a dislike for these guys because of how fast they can just destroy your defense if you're not careful. And this level wasn't too hard, even with the guard that I quickly killed thanks to Dark, but let's live on now. Day 13 is a playing your defense level, and this one took me a few tries to beat, but I won't show you them because do you really want to see them? Let's be honest here, so let's move on. Day 14 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 15 has me protecting a row of fat beets, and I actually lost this on my first attempt because of a DJ zombie. It has been quite some time since I lost a level, which is kind of shocking to me. It's been this long since a second attempt at to beat a level. But other than this loss, I did manage to beat on my next try, thanks to the efforts of both Red Stinger and Buttercup, and with some more close calls along the way. But let's continue on. Day 16, like every other level has been so far, is the boss level, mini boss level. So let's just skip it and move on, folks. Day 17 introduces the breakdance zombie, who is another zombie who uses the rap music to gain their ability. And with their gimmick being to push any zombie forward with its dancing skills. Quick the skill, yes, right? And they can be quite a threat depending on who they're pushing towards my fence, but they weren't an issue in this level, so let's continue on. Day 18 is, once again, another level that forces a plant into my team, and this time being garlic. But other than that, this level is not much different than the last one besides having like one less flag, so let's move on. Day 19 is a conveyor belt level, so skippity scoop. Skip. Day 20 is pretty similar to the last few days, but this time it did make me restart from getting overwhelmed by too many zombies at once. But once again, like previously, I managed to beat it on my second attempt, thanks once again to Red Stinger. So, with this victory, thanks to Red Stinger, let's continue on. Day 21 is a pretty interesting level. It does just have a protect the line of flowers and make sure the zombies don't step over them. But they use quite a lot of breakdance zombies to push other zombies closer to these flowers. But I did manage to beat this on my first attempt, thanks to some good breakdancer luck on where they kicked to the zombies and sacrificing lawnmowers to make sure they don't get over those poor flowers. God, I'm glad I didn't get trampled. And with them protected, let's continue on. Day 22 is another conveyor belt level, but it wasn't much of a fungi of a level. That was a terrible joke. Please, let's continue on. Skip that. Please, cut that out. Day 23 introduces the arcade zombie, who, when their retro music is playing, the arcade machines that they're pushing will start spawning 8-bit zombies, who just act like basic zombies. But retro, they don't even have their own unique burning animation, which just kind of sucks. Come on, Popcat, could probably make a bit more effort to that. And these guys can overwhelm someone quite quickly if their arcade machines isn't dealt with fast enough. But other than that, this level was not that hard, so let's continue on. Day 24 is a plan your defense level. Is anyone getting tired of these, or is it just me? Day 25 has nothing really noteworthy to talk about, but it is when I started to bring along Bloomerang to help with the ever-increasing zombie horde, as well as to stop the arcade zombies from pushing the machines too far into my defensive. But other than that, this level is not that hard. But with the use of Bloomerang, it should make other levels also not as hard. So let's continue on. Day 26 has me extract 4 spore shrooms from this 80s nightmare. And this is the first time the punk zombies were actually quite useful, pushing them farther away from where all the other zombies spawn. And like, besides that, this level wasn't too tricky other than, once again, some close calls here and there. But other than that, let's continue on. Day 27 is another conveyor belt level, so let's just move on. Day 28 introduces the boombox zombie, with their main gimmick being after they walk a certain distance, they'll turn on their boombox and start playing some cheesy love music, which recalls all my flowers to be stunned for a short period of time. And the fact is that the fact that they showed up so late into this world makes them kind of not much of a true threat than like all the other zombies, because they didn't get much time in the spotlight. This level wasn't that hard either, so let's move on. Day 29 is another one of those levels that isn't anything special, which kind of sucks because there's really not much to talk about. And Red Stinger once again does a great job in this level. And in fact, they've done great in this world in general. It's just a really good plant, and I didn't even buy a gem flower for this world thanks to them. So, good job, Red Stinger, for being the MVP in this world. Day 30 only allows me to plant 15 plants at a time, and I did struggle quite a bit with this one, but thanks to Red Stinger and Ice Bloom, I was able to beat this level with some quite close calls at the end with a Gargantua. So, this level out of the way, let's continue on. Day 31 is a locked and loaded level, but it gives us electric blueberry, baby, so let's roll them slots. Woo! Day 32 is a zombie boss level, so now it's time for me to yap a bit about the world. And my thoughts on it are quite mixed, because a lot of the levels were quite interesting, and I like the gimmick of this world along with quite a lot of the zombies. But, well, a lot of the levels were kind of just feeling quite of repetitivity and such. So yeah, this world, it's like a low good, if I had to put it on a hypothetical tier list, which will be shown later on. But yeah, with Zomboss now out of the way, I finish the world, and let's continue on to the Jurassic Marsh. After Zomboss's controversial opinion on flowers, he has now been cancelled. Oh, and afterwards, after I finished Neon Mixtape Tour, I unlocked Aeoli in Dark Quest, but I won't be showing that because it does have some zombies and gimmicks that haven't been introduced yet. I don't want any spoilers for these future gimmicks. No, sorry, I want them to be introduced within their world. But I might make this into like a mini part if you guys want it, so let me know in the comments. And for Aeoli, they are under the category called hermaphrodite flowers, if I pronounce that correctly. And I'll just let me from the past explain it, so take it away. Hold on, I'm looking this up. Google, what does this mean? Also known as perfect or bisexual flowers. Does it seem both male, stem, and from the same? They are flowers. It says it is. Apparently, they're also bisexual. Interesting. I just want to say, Emily, that me and the entire flower team fully supports you. So, everyone be nice in the comments about them. Anyway, Ollie's main gimmick is that they heal a new wall plant, making them a great combo with broccoli, and that's all I wanted them. I just wanted to mention this because I am going to be using them in future levels, so yeah. Anyway, I guess off to Jurassic Marsh, or whatever is going to happen next. I don't know. The void is speaking, and I do not know what it answers.
Here, right here. All your needs will be met.
I'm hungry!
In a minute!
Welcome to Jurassic Marsh, a prehistoric era containing zombies that are somehow smart enough to know what both traffic cones and buckets are before they're even invented? Maybe the bucket has been invented. Who knows? Well, the main gimmick of this world isn't introduced to the next level. I do want to talk about the fact that during the time between the recordings of the last world and this one, the Reflourished mod, which is what I play this challenge in, was updated, bringing some balance patches along with it. But the biggest ones being that both Snapdragon and Void Orchard sun costs were reduced. The Snapdragon going from 175 to 150, and Void Orchard going from 350 to 300. And it's as if the mod devs want my Void Orchard Snapdragon strat to be better than it already is. Ha 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 ha. And other than that, this level was easy, so let's move on. Day 2 introduced this world's main gimmick, dinosaurs, who basically replaces special zombies in this world, along with them being unable to be damaged by my flowers. And the first dinosaur this level introduces is the raptor, who will back and forth on a set path and kick any zombies forward that's in front of it. Raptors aren't the worst thing to deal with, because there are much worse dinosaurs later on compared to them. But for now, this level was beaten, so let's move on. Day 3 is just a conveyor belt level, so yeah. Moving on. Day 4 introduces the first of 2 gem plants that I will be getting, the flower pea, who has the attacking strength of a pea shooter and the solar power of a sunflower. And they even got a cute little flower on their head. There are the brains of this operation. Flower pea has 2 forms of attacking, a straight shooting mode and a multi-targeting lobbed mode. Similar to sling pea, you know what they do. And they will cause any zombie to drop 15 stun when they're killed, which is quite useful. And with this new flower, this level was beaten quite easily. It is owning day 4, and nothing really new is introduced either. Day 5 has nothing new going on, unless you want to count the introduction of imps, which I'm pretty sure have less health than most imps, but I could be wrong with this. But other than that, this level is easy, so let's move on. Day 6 introduces the Stegosaurus, with their gimmick being that whenever a zombie walks onto their tail, it will fling them to a random spawn lawn. And they can be proven to be quite a threat depending on where the zombie gets flung to. But not that many were sent out in this level, meaning they weren't a huge threat. So let's move on. Day 7 is just another conveyor belt level, so let's just continue on, shall we? Day 8 has nothing new going on, besides forcing perfumed shrimp into my team, which is what you're meant to use to counter the dinosaurs, but I can't use them because they're a mushroom and they're a flower. So I'll just have to deal with the dinosaurs the old-fashioned way, myself. Other than that, this level was easy, so let's move on. Day 9 is just a locked and load level, so skip. Day 10 introduces the pterodactyl, who will grab any zombie in their lane, making them function like a minor zombie from the first game. So, to counter this, me and my Twitch chat came to the conclusion to purchase my next gem plant, Wasabi Whip, which is of course based off wasabi. And what's funny about this is that pterodactyls aren't even as much as a threat as I thought they would be. I didn't even plant a single wasabi whip down in this level. But just know that they attack 2 tiles in front and behind them. In fact, Iceland did a great job at countering them and allowing me to beat the level. Day 11 is, again, another level with not much going on for it, which will kinda be a theme for this world going on. But this is the first time they used wasabi in action, and they're strong, I'll give them that. But I feel that their cost is not worth it, in my opinion, for what they do. But besides my opinions on balancing, which I don't know much about with this PvZ, this level was easy. Day 12 has me. Oh no. Not again. No. Another Big Reef Beach, day 28. No. Wait. No. Calm myself. Me. I've gotten stronger since the Big Wave Beach. I can win this. So, I came up with a plan. Using Darchoke as my main attacker, along with using Buttercup, Ale, and Blockly as my defense, and Wasabi Whip, who was used at the end to help kill the guard. I managed to beat this level first try. It was a lot easier than Big Wave Beach Day 28. Mainly because there's 2 less flags in that level, so let's continue on. Day 13 is just another nothing burger of a level. It was quite easy, so let's move on. Day 14 is another locked and loaded level, so let's just skip this. Day 15 has me protect 2 primal walnuts from these prehistoric dunderheads. And these primal walnuts were in the perfect positions to do my classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strategy, along with using Ale and Blockly to protect the other lanes, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 16 is the mini-boss level, so skip. Day 17 is just another boring level with nothing new to talk about, but except for the fact that I unlock at the end of the level a very interesting thing that is very much worth talking about. Day 18 introduces my next new flower, Primal Sunflower, who is just a stronger sunflower, doing 3 times the health, making 75 sun instead of 50, but at the cost of them costing twice as much as a normal sunflower. And it's just nice to have more options when it comes to sun producers I get to use. This level also introduces the T-Rex, who will use her mighty roar to speed up any zombie until they reach a plant to eat. And they're not too much of a threat, because they can only do their roar once and then leave. And with these new lizard threats out of the way, let's move on. Day 19 is another comparable level, so yes, yep. Boo. Day 20 has been produced 2,000 sun, but like all other sun producing objective levels before this, it was easy to beat, so let's move on. Day 21 introduces the Jurassic Bully Zombie, whose main gimmick is to defy all laws of physics and be immune to knockback. Which is completely useless because none of my flowers even have knockback to begin with, making them literally just a weaker Buckethead. And this level was kind of a challenge near the end of the level, but it was beaten nonetheless, so let's continue on. Day 22 is just a plan your defense level, but what's funny is that they forgot to ban Flower Pea, and they still have the ability to produce sun. Which means I can just spam them and have an infinite amount of sun throughout the level. And this was clearly a glitch because they eventually released a patch that fixed this issue, but it was fun while it lasted and it was also pretty funny. But this is still just playing your defense level, so let's continue on. Day 23 is, again, another level with not that much going for it, besides just forcing Primal Potato Mine into my team. Also, can I just say, Icewind has just been the MVP of this world so far, thanks to their freezing abilities and just being very good at stalling. But besides that, this level wasn't too tricky. Day 24 is basically just the last level, even coming down to the same dinosaurs and zombies. So let's just skip it and move on. Day 25 introduces the Ankylosaurus, who will hit zombies with their tail, making them crash into my flowers, causing them to be pushed to the left. And, like anything in this game that moves my flowers around, I hate them with a passion. But besides that, this level was not challenging, it was quite easy, so let's continue on. Day 26 has the Rot make its grand return, taking over the first 2 rows. But even with the removement of space to plant my flowers in, this level was actually quite easy. Didn't even lose a single lawnmower, so let's continue on. Day 27 is just another plan your defense level, so time to spam Flower Pea again, and just win instantly. So, skip, and let's continue on. Day 28 is just another burger of nothingness of a level. Game, you could have at least thrown a Garg at me with how far we're into this world, but this level was easy, so let's just move on. Day 29 is just a locked-in level, so skip. Day 30 is just another boring level. Sure, they threw quite an amount of Gargs at me, but I managed to deal with them quite easily. I didn't even lose a single lawnmower this level. Just boring and easy. It's like one of the last vanilla worlds. But let's just move on. Day 31 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 32 is, as always, the Zomboss fight, so time for me to rant about this world, and it was not that good. I think the main issue of it is just the lack of special zombies, with the only one of the special zombies being the Jurassic Bully. And they're not even a problem because I don't have any knockback. It's just all the special theming being around the dinosaurs, which kind of ruins the level because most of the levels are just basics and Jurassic bullies and imps. I mean, I feel like they could have used some of the objectives well along with it, but they didn't. So this world was pretty boring. Oh, and also this happened during the boss. I just want to show that real quickly. We'll call it. Well, it is day 28. Not that. What were you talking about? I'm sorry. What? And with Zomboss now out of the way, I have completed the Jurassic Marsh, and let's move on at last to the modern day. We've been going for 3 hours. I can do modern day now. I feel like doing modern day.
Could you do your best bungee zombie scream?
Welcome to the modern day, or I guess 2016 modern day to be more specific. Now, the main gimmick is that because Zomboss has been so upset that I've been ignoring him for the past 10 worlds, he decided to break this FaceTime continuum, meaning every zombie, not you, from the past 10 worlds has come back to fight me for revenge. And the second gimmick of this world are these portals that spawn zombies from other worlds. And these portals are showing up in like 7 or so levels, making it the second gimmick basically. And as every day one has been, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 2 introduces my next sun producer, the Moonflower, which is based off a Ichromia. I think I mispronounced that. And what their gimmick is that they are part of a type of plants family called the Shadow Plants. We got boosted one around Moonflower. And with Moonflower's shadow boosting ability is that they produce more sun the more shadow plants are around it. Which is fine, I guess. But you won't be seeing me using them a lot because there's just better sun producers like Sunflower, Twin Sunflower, Primal Sunflower. This level isn't sure. But it does have the new earliest Gargano level, so let's give it a round of applause. Woo! Yeah, good job, woo! But, let's move on. Day 3 is just a conveyor belt level, so let's move on. Day 4 features almost every single MP I've seen so far, along with glitter zombies to protect them all. But for some reason, even without their music, they can still use their ability. That's weird. But using Red Stinger and Turkey Bolt, I managed to beat this level, even with the glitter zombies countering the tofu turkeys. But let's move on. Day 5 gives me my next new flower, Nightshade, who is based off a Nightshade, and it is another shadow plant, being a strong melee plant when empowered, and a pretty good range plant when powered by Moonflower. But just like Moonflowers, you won't be seeing me use them that much. And this level also enters the newspaper zone. And what do they do, you ask? Well... these guys can be quite a threat if I don't deal with them fast enough. But for now, I managed to beat the level. Day 6 has me produce 4,000 sun. And as usual, the objective wasn't hard, as most of these levels usually come to be. And even with the amount of wizard zombies and importers just leveled up to send out, it wasn't that hard. So, let's continue on. Day 7 was one of the few levels that I struggled on, mainly because of the large amounts of octo zombies that overwhelmed me near down the level. But, on my second attempt, I did a better job at handling them and their octos, thanks to Flower Pea and Ice Boom, and they allowed me to beat the level. So let's move on. Day 8 is just Begooled, which is just a match 3 minigame, so let's just move on. Day 9 is also just a locked and level, so let's just skip it and move on. Day 10 has me purchase my next new gem flower, Shrinking Violet. who is based off a violet flower. And when a zombie is near them, they will activate their ability, shrinking any zombie in a 3x3 area, making them take more damage along with insta-killing any and all imps that are around it as well. And this level features a lot of bulky zombies like mechs and gargantuars, making shrinking violet quite useful here, allowing me to beat the level. Day 11 has nothing too challenging going on, but look chat, there he is, it's the pianist man, here to destroy another district and ruin the music. But other than that, this level was easy. Day 12 has me not lose more than 10 plants, but using a similar strategy to what I did back in Jurassic Marsh, but instead of Dartichoke, I used Red Stinger and Flower Pea as my attackers. I managed to beat this level without too much of a hassle. Day 13, another Bagoot level. Skip. Day 14 is another locked-in level, so skip. Day 15 has me protect these primal walnuts from this army of random zombies from random times of space. You know, I'm getting a weird sense of deja vu. This level also introduces the balloon zombie, who's kind of just like every other flying zombie, besides just being very tanky. But using the classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat, I managed to beat this level. Day 16 is just the mini-boss level, and it features literally every Gargantuar from the past 10 worlds. So yeah, that's really it with this level, but let's skip it and move on. Day 17 has nothing much going on for it, besides bringing in both arcade zombies and turquoise skull zombies, who weren't really that much of a threat in this level. And this level was easy thanks to Red Stinger and Turkey Bolt, so let's move on. Day 17 brings in Surfer Zombies and Bull Rider to try and brains. And tons of balloon zombies along with it. But even with this massive air raid, this level was beatable, so let's move on. Day 19 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 20 is a level with not much going for it, or really much to talk about, so let's just move on. Day 21 introduces the All-Star Zombie, who will charge into my defense, insta-killing any zombie it comes into contact with. This level took me 2 tries to beat, but that's mainly because I drafted it on my first attempt. But bringing along Red Stinger instead on my next attempt, I managed to beat the level. Day 22 is another Bagool level, so skip. Day 23 introduces my next new flower, the Grim Rose, who is based off a rose, of course. And what they do is that they'll insta-kill any small zombie by sending it to the void, then sadly passing away afterwards using all of its energy to do that. And they're pretty good outside of being powered by something like Moonflower, because just insta-killing a zombie is just good in general. Anyway, this level is a bit tricky with all the big wave beach zombies it throws at me, which includes snorkel zombies for some reason, which makes no sense at all. But I still managed to come out on top and beat the level. Day 24 introduces the Super Phantom, who will explode and kill any flowers nearby after a short period of time. And they can be kicked by all-stars, making them get flung very far and then blowing up instantly. But other than that, this level wasn't too hard, so let's move on. Day 25 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 26 features tons of musically themed zombies like piano zombies and disco mechs, but thanks to Red Stinger and Flower Pea, they helped me take out these musical punks and allowed me to beat the level. Day 27 is another Burgood level, so skippity, skip. Then again, Burgood is pretty fun. I recommend trying it. Day 28 has me produce 3000 sun, and like the last level with the sun requirement, it was handled quite well thanks to my sunflowers. And even with the amount of both wizard zombies trying to turn my flowers into horrid sheep, and captain zombies trying to take them away to the sky to do something, don't ask me what, this level was beaten pretty easily. Day 29 has tons of graves pre-placed onto my lawn, and due to the fact that I can't use Grave Buster to destroy them, I have no way to deal with the ones that are placed in the first rows, meaning I have to deal with them for the entire level. And that's not the end of the grave onslaught here, no siree, because with the amount of Tomb Raider zombies that they throw at me, which are constantly spawning more, I end up having almost all of my lawn being covered with graves. It's almost just a cemetery at this point. But I still managed to beat this level and move on. Day 30 has me make sure the zombies don't walk over the flowers. And with how close the flowers were to the zombies' starting point, I had to come up with a good plan to win. So, using Red Stinger and Darterchoke as my main attackers, along with Blockly and Buttercup as my defense. And also, like, Sunflowers as extra defense, but that's not. And this allowed me to beat the level on my second try. And yes, on my second attempt, I boosted all my plants with a Zen Garden boost so I could beat this level easier. But I do have a reason for this, and that reason is, at this point, I would have been streaming for almost 7 hours, and I was really starting running out of energy and wanting to get this done. So, doing this, I beat the level. And let's continue on. Day 31 is the last vanilla level I'll have to face. Oh, how far I've come since that first day in ancient Egypt. And compared to day 30, it wasn't as hard, but hey, they brought back the slider tiles from Frostbite Caves for some reason. But besides that, this level was beaten quite easily, so let's move on. Days 32 through 34 are all just Zommoss rematches against the previous 10 of his mechs, but with a different selection of plants. So now it's time for me to rant about my thoughts on those. And it was pretty meh, quite similar to, well, Jurassic Marsh, but I feel like, I'm not sure if this is true. I'll have to look it up while I'm doing the editing, but I'm pretty sure these worlds were with Rush, hence why the portal mechanic, that's quite interesting, but it's barely used in this world, so yeah. But yeah, with all the Zombosses beaten, I have finished off the modern day. Now let's continue on to the holiday mashup. We've done it, chat. We've unlocked a taco with a waffle stuck into it.
Merry Christmas!
Welcome to the holiday mashup, a world where all the zombies decide to celebrate every holiday all at the same time. And while this world doesn't feature a lot of new zombies or new reskins of zombies from previous worlds, each holiday zombie has a different resistance, which I'll bring up with each new holiday that is introduced. And the festive zombies have a 75% resistance to chilling effects, which could be quite a difficult thing if I actually had any plants that could actually chill, which I don't. And the second gimmick of this world is the presents, which will either have 100 sun or a random plant, meaning I got to see more non-flower plants than I would normally. And this being day 1 and all, this level is 0, so let's move on. Day 2 introduces the luck of the zombies, who have a 75% resistance to stalling effects, which once again isn't a big deal because I don't really have any stalling plants that would be affected by them. And I also introduced one of my next new flowers, Lotus Pond, who is based off of a lotus, which is a type of flower. And I unlocked him during the stream where I did some of the quests, and if you ever want to check out any previous streams, you can check out my VODS channel, which I should have linked in the description. And their main gimmick is having 2 different types of shooting, depending if he's placed in the water or not. And we won't see his other shooting mode for quite a while, so just keep it in the back of your head for now, okay? And this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 30 is just a comparable level, but it does also introduce the Valenbrain zombies, who just have a 75% resistance to Stalia's stalling effect, which won't be much of a big threat because I just don't use them in those levels. But let's continue on. Day 4 introduces the Birthday zombies, who can't be affected by Sunbeam's sun effect, which means they're just normal zombies. I also get my next new gem plant, called Snapdragon, who is Snapdragon with a freezing effect, and you all know how Snapdragon works by this point. I also start using Clover. Yes, it did take me this long to figure out that clovers are flowers, but that's besides the point. And this level was easy, thanks to my classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat. Frosty edition. But, let's move on. Day 5 is a locked and low level, but also introduces the Halloween zombies, who, once again, just have a 75% resistance to stun effects, which kinda sucks that they share an effect with the luck of the zombies, which becomes kind of a consistent theme moving on. But let's continue on. Day 6 introduces the hero zombies, who aren't affected by plants that need to be eaten with the ability to activate, which once again means it isn't a problem to deal with. This level is also one of the many mini-boss levels that this world will have me face. On this level will having me face off against Infinity, who will create clones of himself around him to protect him. And he dies as soon as he spawns thanks to Red Stinger's plant food ability. and allowing me to continue on. Day 7 introduces the holiday drinks, which act like the potions from the Dark Ages, with each one giving some kind of special boost. And other than that, this level has not much going on, besides the return of him. So let's continue on. Day 8 introduces the Summer Nights zombies, who have a resistance to freezing effects. This level also has me produce 40,000 sun, which, as usual, wasn't an issue to deal with, so let's continue on. Day 9 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 10 introduces the Food Fight zombies, who have a resistance to being buttered. And this level also has me butter 25 zombies, which is the first unique objective we will be seeing within this world, and the ones moving on. And if Buttercup didn't exist, this level would have been impossible. But thank goodness they do. And after the great turkey war of Day 10, this level was beaten. Day 11 introduces the Big Brain zombies, who not only suffer from big headitis, which is terminal, unfortunately, but are also immune to knockback. But just like the Jurassic Willy zombies, this has no effect on me and my plants. And alongside me protecting some primal pea shooters, this level also introduces my next new flower, Dandelion, who is of course based off of a dandelion. And their main gimmick is firing exploding seeds into the lane smoke in front of him and above and below them. And they can deal great damage once you have enough of them on the lawn, and you'll see me using them quite a lot moving on. But other than that, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 12 is another mini-boss level, having me faced off with both the birthday zombies, but also the cake tank, who will stop in the middle of the lawn and spawn more and more zombies as he takes more and more damage. But they were no match for my almighty flowers. So, with this cake crushed, let's continue on. Day 13 is the point where Zomboss just gives up on theming and starts mixing different zombies from different holidays to try and stop my powerful flowers. That's a sentence I tried to say, but whatever. And I decided to use Bloomerang because we haven't seen them in quite a while. And it wasn't the best choice because I had quite a bit of challenge during this level. But this level is so beatable, so let's continue on. Day 14 is another conveyor belt level, so let's continue on. Day 15 has me not lose more than 4 plants, but more importantly, it's also the introduction of my next new flower, Cactus, who's based off a cactus, of course. And they were quite differently from when they were back in the first game, firing a piercing thorn that will hit up to 3 zombies at a time, along with going underground and acting like a spike weed when a zombie gets too close. And this level is thankfully not another big wave beach day 28 situation, but it does. Oh, come on, why are you back, pianist zombie? Your Christmas getup. Why don't you buzz off and go kill the repairer's wife or something? I don't know. Anyway, this level wasn't hers, so let's move on. Day 16 has nothing notable about it and was pretty easy, so let's move on. Day 17 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 18 is the mini-boss level, so once again, skip. Day 19 introduces the Z-Corp zombies, which I guess having a 9 to 5 is now a holiday. Alright. Alongside a new special zombie, the Councilate zombie, who will move back and forth across the lawn, pushing zombies to other lanes alongside changing lanes by themselves. Yeah, this level was another easy one, so let's continue on. Day 20 is another conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 21 is a planar defense level, so once again, skip. Day 22 introduces another new objective, having me not place down any plants for 40 seconds, which I completed at the start of the level, making it another easy objective. This level also introduces the text to support zombies, who will spawn like the parachute zombies, how are nerds learning how to fly! And if they are killed before hitting the ground, they'll blow up and kill any zombies around them with an explosion, alongside throwing their computers when moving on the ground, which will insta-kill a plant. And this level was once again easy, even with the new objective, so let's move on. Day 23 introduces another new objective, having to make sure I wrap up 35 zombies using the birthday drinks. And during the starting of the level, I played a lot more passively than usual, so I can make sure enough zombies could get wrapped up before the end of the level. But once that objective was completed, I went all out on my assault on the zombies, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 24 is another mini-boss level, having me face off against the entire 9 to 5 working class, alongside fighting against the next mini-boss, the Z-Mech, who uses tons of attacks such as teleporting zombies around, spawning imps, and jetpack zombies, and firing missiles at my flowers. But enough fools. They were taken down, allowing me to beat the level. Day 25 introduces the chair zombie, who is kind of a mix between the bull rider imps and the all-star zombies, charging down the lane using its all-powerful chair, then insta-killing any plants that run into them, being flung a few tiles in front. And they are basically the same amount of difficulty that an bull rider imp and an all-star zombie are, but combined. And this level gave me a bit of a trouble near the end of it, but I still managed to come out on top, so let's move on. Day 26, another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 27 introduces the witch zombie, who functions like the balloon zombie from the first game, but this time they can only be attacked by lobbing plants and will ignore lawnmowers, which, as you can probably tell, that was quite an issue, which means I had to bring in my next new flower to take care of them, Blooming Heart, who is based off of a bleeding heart, and with their main gimmick being able to deal more damage to zombies that they attack over time. And thanks to them, alongside Clover, I was able to take care of these wicked zombies and was able to beat the level. Day 28 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 29 is also a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 30 is another mini-boss level, and not only having me protect some infinites from these holiday-based hordes, but also having me face off of the next mini-boss, Professor Brainstorm, who will spawn random zombies of the holiday variety, along with teleporting to a random lane after each time he uses it. But even with this large horde of random holiday-esque zombies, I managed to take down Professor Brainstorm and beat the level. Day 31 has me protect some strawberries, and just like the banana launchers back in Big Wave Beach, I allowed myself to use them. This level also introduces the overstuffed zombie, who can both block straight moving projectile thanks to his big old belly, but can also eat round plants such as spikeweed, which won't really come up as much because, you know, I can't use spikeweed, but it might come up later. And I only lost one lawnmower in this level due to an unfortunate tech zombie spawning at the end of my lawn and my cactus not being able to kill it in time. But other than that, I still managed to beat this level and continue on. Day 32 is another planar defense level, so skip. Day 33 introduces my next new flower, Boingletta, who is based off a Poingletta, and with their main gimmick being, when placed for the first time, they chill all zombies for a short time, alongside breaking any grid items that are on the lawn. And afterwards, will only chill zombies in the lawn with grid. And other than this brand new flower to my arsenal, this level was easy and beatable. Day 34 has me protect these rather dapper free Peters, and this level also features gesture zombie variants to make the free Peters attacks much more of a problem than a help. But even with this level was still beaten with not much of an issue, so let's continue on. Day 35 is a hero-themed conveyor belt level, but still, this level could have a superhero skip this time, so the superhero skip. Day 36 is the worst level in this world, nay, maybe even worse than Big Wave Beach Day 28. Nah, probably not. It features a mini-boss that is so hated that even the devs themselves dislike it. Multiplicity, who will split into smaller and smaller imps with each death. And I lost so many times to this level to that stupid boss that I'm not even going to want to talk about it anymore, so I'm just going to end it here and walk away. Here I go. Walking away. I'm definitely not a scripted bit. Here I go. Yep. See you all later. But besides that, let's continue on. Day 37 has me kill 10 zombies within 10 seconds. And using the Frosty edition of my Void Orchard Snapdragon strat, I easily beat this level and the objective. So let's continue on. Day 38 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 39 has me make sure that the zombies don't walk over the row of flowers. We're using a certain holiday drink that acts similar to the T-Rex back in Jurassic Marsh, making them move faster till they start eating a plant. But thanks to both Cactus and Lotus Pod, I made sure that the zombies never made it close to those flowers, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 40 is another locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 41 only allows me to bring 4 plants, and so I spawn a new flower to help along with this. Bramblebush, who may be based off of a rosebush, at least according to the chat member that asked me to use them. And I didn't want to disappoint a viewer, so I brought him along. Anyway, Bramblebush's main gimmick is to trap up the free zombies in its thorns, hurting them over time. And hurting any zombies that try to eat it while it's attacking another zombie. And they can also be used to break barrels like Spikeweed can, which will be quite useful later on. And use my newfound flower alongside Wasabi Whip, and I was able to beat the level. Day 42 is another locked and load level, so skip. Day 43 gave me some trouble because of the glitter zombies being used a lot during this level, keeping every other zombie behind it invincible until they got taken care of. But thanks to Cactus, I managed to beat the level, so let's continue on. Well, day 44 may just be another playing your defense level. It has something going on throughout that makes this level impossible. Having a row of potato mines in the middle lane, with them only sending out flying zombies in that lane. And the level expects you to use sweet potatoes to move them so you can take care of them without blowing up the potato mines. And well, at first I tried using Void Orchard's Void portals to move zombies that way. But with the way they work, alongside the weasel and chicken zombies constantly getting summoned out into the middle lane as well, blowing them up, they weren't able to deal with them well enough to beat the level. So I gave in and used sweet potato to beat the level, marking it as impossible. But hey, if you guys want to give it a shot, the flowers I had at my arsenal, you can try and let me know down in the comments if you did manage to beat them, then I'll mark it as possible at that point. Day 45 has me protect some Spikeweed variants, along with introducing the last flower of this world, Cauliflower, who is based off a cauliflower. And their main gimmick is hypnotizing zombies so they can work for me now, ah ha ha! And at first, I wanted to only use Cauliflower as my main attacker. But this plan quickly fell apart when I found out that witch zombies were also in this level because I didn't see them during this part of the level because they were being covered by all the other zombies. So after bringing along Blooming Heart, I was able to beat the level. Day 46, once again another level has me protect a row of flowers. I'm using tons of Blooming Hearts, this level was quite easy to beat, so let's continue on. Day 47 is the big final level of this world. And it's not just like a conveyor belt level or something very easy like it has in the past, it's an actual challenging level. Using every zombie it has thrown at me before, all into one long and arduously challenging level. And after me and my chat came up with the perfect setup of plants to use in this level, I continue forward. And after 6 long waves of a never-ending horde of zombies, I finally beat the level. So let's move on. Day 48 is just the zombie boss level, so now it is time for me to talk about how I thought the world. To be honest, it's just a 10 times better version of modern day in all ways. It uses zombies much better, like all the variants are cool. And it was just a very fun world in general. I'll do like all obligatory tier listing stuff later, but just no. But this world is pretty high up. It's just like just a 10 times better modern day and much better levels. Sure, it's longer. It makes my editing work much more of a pain, but other than that, this world was really good. So, with Zombie Boss out of the way, let's continue on to the Steam Age. You're dead. Thank you. We did it. I won. It only took 5 or 6.
Kaboom.
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
Welcome to the Steam Age, an industrial world with enough toxic gas to kill like every working class person on the entire face of the planet. Now the main gimmick of this world are the manholes, which will spawn either basic zombies or imps, and will walk backwards and try to take down my defense from behind. Now there is a counter to these manholes, that being wall plants, being able to be placed on top of them. Sadly though, Buttercup is unable to be planted on them, meaning block will be required for these levels. And being day 1 and all, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 2 introduces my next new flower, Cattail, who's based off of a cattail, of course. And now some of you may be thinking, brains. Cattails are also called water reeds. Wouldn't that also make lightning reed count for this challenge? And to that I say, yes. Now, Cattail has had some changes since the first game, now having a large attack range instead of being able to attack the entire lawn, but now being able to fire 2 spikes at a time instead of 1. And with this brand new flower to my team, or I guess brand old new flower to my team, I beat the level. Day 3 is just a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 4 introduces the gentleman zombie, who will fly over all plants in his way, only stopping if I eat my sunflowers. Yes. And these British scoundrels could seem to be a threat to some, but they were no match for my flowers. Sorry about that, don't know what came up with me. They were quite easy to take out and allowed me to beat the level. Day 5 is locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 6 introduces my next new flower, Vanilla, who is based off a vanilla flower, and their main gimmick is not dealing any damage at all and being able to stun zombies for a short time. Yeah, you won't be seeing me use them that much in this world and later on. But this level also introduces a barrel zombie, whose functions similarly to the newspaper zombies back in modern day, being protected by their trustworthy barrel, then gaining a speed boost once it's destroyed, along with being able to eat faster than most other zombies. But even with these barreling threats, this level is still another easy level to beat, so let's continue on. Day 7 is a conveyor level, so skip. Day 8 has been produced 3,500 sun, and even with this level being quite long, the objective was easy as always, and Dandelion and Cattail took care of their zombies quite well, letting me beat the level. Day 9 has been protect 2 splitleys, both being in lanes with manholes in them, but using Block-and-Lean Ale easily took care of those manholes for me, along with using the classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat to make sure that the rest of the zombies stayed out of those lanes as well, which allowed me to beat the level. Day 10 features this world's big gimmick level, having blueprints on the lawn that only the backward zombies are able to read. And if you ever get 2 of these blueprints, I would lose the level. But, using Cattail to take out the manhole spawning zombies throughout the level, I was able to beat the level without them ever getting anywhere close to those blueprints. Day 11 may force some non-flowers into my team, but it also gives me my next new flower, Lily of Alchemy, who is based off of a Lily of the Valley, with their main gimmick being to either throw a normal projectile, or one that will both slow down zombies and pierce through their armor, dealing direct damage to the zombie itself instead of the armor, making them quite good when used on more tankier zombies or ones with armor. This level also introduces the wheelbarrow zombie, who will push a wheelbarrow that, when destroyed, will drop down coal on the ground in a similar way to the barrel pusher zombies back in Pirate Seas. And this coal will damage plants that are near them, along with the zombie being able to spawn with armor like cones or buckets. But they didn't prove much of a threat right now, but they will prove to be one later on. But for now, let's move on. Day 12 had not much to note about, so let's just continue on. Day 13 is a planar defense level, so skip. Day 14 has quite an interesting gimmick, removing both my shovel along with my plant food, which I may or may not have forgotten the latter one and brought Power Lily along, meaning I just wasted a slot in complete accident. And I actually quite like this gimmick, because it forced me to have a set-in-stone strategy, making any mistake when it comes to placing down my plants more detrimental, especially if it's in the farther back lanes, where zombies won't often get to. But even without my shovel and plant food, I still managed to come out on top and been able to beat the level. Day 15 has me protect 3 cattails from these underpaid workers, but thanks to both cattails of my own to take care of any manhole spawning zombies to try to take out my endangered cattails from behind, along with alchemy lilies to weaken down any other zombies, I was able to protect these non-cat flowers and was able to beat the level. Day 16 is the Gargantuar mini-boss level thingamajig, so skip. Day 17 introduces the furnace zombies, who will explode in a 3x3 area upon death. Kind of like a similar other zombie from a future time. Whatever. And their main weakness being that they take extra damage to fire attacks, which won't come into play that much because my only 2 fire plants are both close range, which isn't the best range that you want for zombies that explode, you know? And this level gave me quite some trouble, That's less because of the furnace zombies and more because of the large amount of wheelbarrow zombies that they threw at me, which slowly took down my defense. But I still managed to come out on top and beat this level my first try, so let's continue on. Day 18 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 19 introduces the mechanic zombie, who has 3,000 health. For context, Gargantuars have 600 health more than them, which, you know, is quite a lot for a normal zombie. Anyway, their main gimmick is being able to spawn clockwork zombies every so often. And the clockwork zombies have quite the fasting speed, and they're quite a bit tanky as well, making them a big threat if too many spawn in the same lane. Oh, and also the mechanic zombies are just can't be killed by lawnmowers because suffer. I don't know. I managed to beat the level, but these guys are going to be quite a problem later down the line. But for now, let's continue on. Day 20 is another blueprint level, but now for blueprints and manhole in every single lane. And to try and have some aid against these mechanic zombies, I bought my next new gem plant, Heathseeker, who is based off a winter heath. And their main gimmick is just being able to be an insta-plant, which is always a good thing to have in these types of levels. And it took me 2 tries to beat this level, but for my second attempt, I had tons of sunflowers in the early game so I could have enough sun to build a sturdy enough defense for the late game. And doing this plan, I was able to beat the level. Day 21 has me not plant more than 14 plants, but other than that, this level also introduces the Inventor Zombie, who's just a tankier balloon zombie, so nothing new to talk about here. This level gave me some troubles, but I still beat it, so let's move on. Day 22 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 23 introduces my next new flower, Maypop Mechanic, who is based off a Maypop flower, and their main gimmick is firing 2 gears. A weaker one that will bounce off 5 zombies, and a stronger gear that will first be flung backwards, then boomerang back around towards the zombies, making them a great counter for backwards moving zombies such as ones that are affected by pterodactyl zombies in Jurassic Marsh, or other ones that I can't remember. Anyway, thanks to both Dandelion and Maypop Mechanic, this level was easily beaten. Day 24 has me make sure that no zombies walk over the row of flowers. And this level is another one where it took me 2 tries to beat. And using Wasabi Whip and Dandelion on my second go, I beat it without too many close calls. So let's continue on. Day 25 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 26 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 27 has me protect a single manga shroom, along with the introduction of the repair imp. That when killed, it will drop down its repair station. That will heal any mechanical zombies in a 3x3 radius, or any mechanical devices, such as the balloons from the Inventor zombies. And because of their headpiece that they are wearing, Manga Shroom will rip their head right off, killing them instantly, which is a problem because it gives me less time to prepare my defense in the early game. And I lost quite a few times to this level, but I eventually came up with the plan to use a buttercup to solve the first repair imp so I could produce more sun later on. And I eventually managed to beat the level. It wasn't pretty, but I still managed to do it. And this is a don't lose X amount of plants level. On day 28, the devs are mocking me, aren't they? And this level is only 1 flag, and I did manage to beat it on my first try, but there's a sense of irony here that I just don't want to talk about, so let's just move on. Day 29 is the level I struggled the most with in this world, being a blueprint level, along with the return of the Rot being placed on top of the manholes, meaning I can't plant blockily there to stop the zombies from getting to the blueprints. My first plan was to use the classic Void Orchard Snapdragon strat to move the manhole zombies away from the blueprints, but this plan didn't really work well because I had both no way to kill the mechanic zombies and no way to deal with the manhole zombies if the void portals ever got destroyed. And my second plan was to use Wasabi Whip to quickly take out the manhole zombies, along with Dandelion to deal with any other zombies. And while this did bring me the closest to winning, it still wasn't enough. But then, a hero appeared, the one plant that could beat this cactus. Thanks to Cactus's piercing ability, along with their plant food being the booster or damage along with stunning zombies for a short time, they allowed me to beat the level. So, let's continue on. Also, on another note, the Venture zombies are able to eat cactus, and they just don't go underground like with every other zombie. I don't know if this is a bug or intentional, but I don't know. Future editing me will probably put something up to see if like other balloon zombies are also like this, but I don't know. Anyway, let's continue on. Day 30 is just a locked and loaded level. So much skip it, my fine sirs. Ha 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 ha. Day 31 is the big final level, ignoring Zomboss of this world. Bringing both Cactus and Cattail along for the ride, this level was being without too much a problem, even if it was the big final level. Surprising how much an objective challenge could increase the difficulty of a level. But this level was still quite fun, so with this treacherous big level out of the way, let's continue on. Day 32 is just a Zomboss fight, so now it's time for me to rant about this world. And once again, cheers to the Reflourished devs, apologies. Cheers to them. They made a really good world, because I've watched videos of like, this world comes from the Chinese version of PvZ2, and I've seen how buggy and bad it is in that version, but they managed to make it really good in this version. This is probably not yet the pinnacle of peak world gameplay, at least not yet. It is still pretty high up, probably alongside Holiday Mashup. But with Zomboss now out of the way, I have beaten the Steam Age, and let's continue on the Caliginous Carnival. Now I start. Welcome to La Mancha Land. Welcome to the Caliginous Carnival, an unsettling world that brings us back into the realm of the night. Now, the main gimmick of this world are the tarot cards, and when a plant is placed on them, it will spawn a projectile which will give the zombies a random effect. Now, I'm going to explain all the cards right now to save time later on. Starting off with the helpful ones, we have the Sun card, which will give zombies a sunbeam effect for a short period of time, dropping 100 sun when killed. The Power Lily card, which gives zombies plant food. And the Basic card, which will turn any zombie into a basic one. And for the unhelpful ones, we got the Bucket card, which turns zombies into bucket heads, and the Grinder box card, which turns zombies into grinder box heads, which all you need to know for them is that they're just tankier bucket heads. They'll spawn another zombie, which we'll get to later on. And as per usual, the first level is easy, so let's move on. Night 2 introduces the Carny Imps, which are 2 imps fused into one, giving them twice the eating speed, and will split into 2 imps upon killed. I also introduced a plant from the Steam Age that I didn't get to use back then. The Lotus Root, which is based off of the root of a lotus flower. And their main gimmick is firing water in a shotgun style pattern, along with being able to put out fire plants, because you know, it's water. And they are quite strong, and have some very good uses later on. So you'll be seeing me use them quite a bit during the later on levels. And lastly, sorry, this is running with another breath. This level introduces the Jack-in-the-Boxes, which will spawn a random sort of things after some amount of time. And once again, I'm going to be quickly going over all of them. There's the Candy, which will give zombies a buff depending on the color. The Carnivols, which will instantly kill a plant if not killed quick enough. The Carny Nibblers, which are just fast eating little punks. And the Mechanical Monkeys, which are also fast eating just little gremlins, which also can be spawned by grinder box zombies. And once again, this level was not much of an issue, so let's move on. Night 3 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 4 introduces the Stilt Walker zombies, and using their basketball legs, they will walk over all plants in the way, but once their stilts are destroyed, they'll act like a basic zombie. And using both Cattail and Shrinking Violet, I was able to take care of these creepy zombies and beat the level. Night 5 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Night 6 picks most of my plants for me, but thankfully they give me Alchemy Lily, so I have some kind of attacker to use, along with bringing along Sunflower and Buttercup myself. This level also introduces this Vendor zombie, who comes in 2 versions. One that throws pink cotton candy that boosts a zombie's health, and one that throws blue cotton candy which boosts a zombie's speed. But even with these zombies boosting their fellow allies, they were no match for my flowers, and I beat the level. Day 7 has been protect a row of flowers, and after losing one to see if stilt walkers counts as walking over them, which should have been obvious on my end, but using both Buttercup and Lotus Root, I was able to beat this level on my second attempt. So, with this victory on my way, let's continue on. Night 8 is sadly another impossible level. This level limits my seed bank, only letting me use my most expensive flowers, which is kind of a problem in a world without sun falling from the sky. And the level expects you to use puff shrooms in the early game so you can place them on the sun cards to build up sun in the early game. And after some attempts without using puff shroom, I caved in and used them to beat the level. And with this loss on my end, let's continue on. Night 9 introduces the trapeze zombies, which are like the swashbucklers back in Pirate Sea, but they can come up into pairs of up to 4 zombies at a time. But they're the same amount of a threat as the swashbucklers are, easily taken out if you know where they land. And this level was also easy, so let's continue on. Night 10 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 11 introduces my next new flower, Boom Balloon Flower, which I don't really know what they're based off, but they have flower in the name, counting them for the challenge. And their main gimmick is that you can click on them, placing a balloon anywhere on the lawn. And these balloons can be stacked up to 3 times, making them deal more damage with each balloon. And this level also introduces the fire breather zombies. And because of their diet of purely gasoline and motor oil, they can breathe fire, dealing huge damage to my flowers from a distance. But they can easily be countered by using an ice plant such as Ice Bloom to put out their flame, making them unable to breathe fire. And thanks to both Boom Balloon Flower and Ice Bloom, this level was easily beaten. Night 12 is just some type of matching minigame, so skip. Night 13 is a planar defense level, so skip once again. Night 14 is a locked and loaded level. 3 skips in a row. We're gonna hit the jackpot, baby. Night 15 has been protect 2 caramel pults from this horror freak show. But thanks again to both Lotus Root and Ice Bloom, this level was beaten without much of an issue, so let's continue on. Night 16 may be the Gargantua mini-boss level, but it's also the final level. Because this world is only half finished, only the first part currently being released. So this will be the point where I start ranting about it, and so far with the first half, this has been a pretty good world. Probably maybe even better than Dark Ages, if it continues to be this good quality for a night world. But yeah, with this level out of the way, I have beaten at least the first half of the Caliginous Carnival, and let's move on to the expansion levels. Alright. And that's that. And we got a jar. No disrespect to the original creators or the devs of Reflourished. I just find it quite funny the amount of versions of Explorer Zombie there are. Welcome back to the ancient Egypt, this scorching world of both sand and graves. And while this level was easy, I do want to make a formal apology to a certain plant of mine, Vanilla, who can actually deal damage, a whopping 10. And they do actually have some other uses, like being able to stop sandstorms and turn off shields from shield mechs. But besides that, you still won't be seeing me use them that much. And other than that, let's move on from this level. Day 27 has been produced 9,000 sun, and besides the level spamming tons of raw zombies to try and steal my precious sun, this level, like all other sun producing levels like it, was easy, so let's move on. Day 28 is a plan your defense level, so skip. Day 29 is also a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 30 has been protected these bowling balls, with gravestones constantly spawning in front of them, causing their attacks to bounce all over the place, making stalling almost impossible to do in the early game. This level also introduces a new type of basic zombie, the brickheads, who are just tankier bucket heads, and each world has one of them, so this will be the only time I bring them up. But just know there's one in each world. And using Snapdragon, specifically his cold variant, I was able to beat the level, so let's continue on. Day 31 has me break 50 gravestones, so using both Boing Leda and Maypop mechanic, this objective was easily beaten and allowed me to continue on. Day 32 introduces the Torchlight Zombie, who's just a faster moving torch zombie, meaning they have nothing else interesting to talk about. But this level also picks most of my plants for me, but thankfully they give me Twin Sunflower. And along with bringing Maypop mechanic, Buttercup, and Ice to myself, I was able to beat the level. Day 33 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 34 has The Rot take over the last 3 rows, along with this level only spawning zombies out of sandstorms, so using Dandelion for their multi-lane attacking abilities, the sandstorms were no match for my flower's might, and I was able to beat the level. Day 35 is just a zombie boss fight, so with Ancient Egypt out of the way, let's return to the Pirate Seas. Cool, cue the cool transition thingy. Welcome back to the Pirate Seas. This swashbuckled world with still plenty of scurvy to go around and kill plenty more pirates. And as all first levels have been, this level was easy, so let's move on. Day 27 has The Rot take over all the plank lanes, along with having me only be allowed to plant 16 flowers. But using dandelions to have every lane taken care of without going over the planting limit, this level was beaten with not much issue. Day 28 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 29 is also a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 30 has me protecting a singular potato mine, who has been planted in the only lane without planks, along with The Rot blocking all of her spots, so I have no way to block zombies that are within that lane. But using both Dandelion and Cattail for their multi-lane attacking abilities, so that lane is always protected, this level was beaten. Day 31 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 32 has me protect 2 garlics, along with this level also introducing the Pelican zombies, who's just a faster and tankier seagull zombie. So once again, I have nothing much to talk about for them. And using Snapdragon to benefit off the garlics, along with Ale to heal the garlics as well, this level was beaten without too much issue. Day 33 has no plank lanes whatsoever, only having swashbucklers, imp cannons, and both flying zombies to try and take out my brains. But with this level only having a singular flag, it was quite easy, so let's continue on. Day 34 has me protect this gravity-defying row of flowers. But this level was quite easy thanks to once again Dandelion and the classic Ale and Broccoli combo. So let's move on. Day 35 is just once again the zombie boss fight, so with that out of the way, let's return to the Wild West. Welcome back to the Wild West, this desert land that is always taking place on the land of Texas. Now this level was once again easy, so not wanting to drag this on for too long, let's continue on with the levels. Day 27 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 28 has not much challenge to take note of, and using both Dandelion and Broccoli, this level was easily taken care of. Day 29 is just the conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 30 is also a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 31 introduces the power of 2 minecarts on the same track, which doesn't add much gameplay-wise. But this level also introduces a new type of ambush, the Stampede, which spawns multiple Bull Rider imps who are already in their charging state, making it harder for me to stop them from throwing their imps into my defense. And even with this new defense, this level was an easy one thanks once again to both Dandelion and Broccoli, so let's continue on. Day 32 introduces the Rodeo Legend imps, who ride a much stronger bull, who is able to destroy plants it runs into, along with being able to continue charging even with its imp gone, making them quite a threat. This level also picks most of my plants for me, only allowing me to have 2 seed slots in total, so picking both Maypop, Mechanic, and Sunflower was my best options, and along with me having to protect a Walnut who is on a minecart as well. And even with all of these challenges, this level was still beatable with not much issue. Day 33 is a mini-game level, so skip. Day 34 has tons of minecarts on the lawn, making planting space very limited. But using both cactus and broccoli, this level was not much of a challenge, even with the 4 flags this level contains, so let's continue on. Day 35 is just the zombie boss fight, so with Wild West out of the way, let's now return to the far future. Welcome back to the far future, the land of both jetpacks and just very tanky mechs. And once again, this level was as always easy, so let's just continue on. Day 27 is to be protect both primal sunflowers and starfruits, along with the top and bottom regions having the rot take them over. So, using both cattail and dandelion, this level was easily beaten. Day 28 is a locked and load level, so skip. Day 29 is also the conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 30 introduces the Blasternaut zombies, who's just a faster jetpack zombie, and they are not much of a threat that I don't even notice when they show up. So, yeah, not much to talk about them. And thanks to the large amount of power tiles within this level, it was very much beaten with not much difficulty at all. Day 31 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 32 has me protect 3 tunnelets against the brand new ambush, the jetpack attack, which just spawns all types of jetpack zombies, and using ale to keep the tunnelets alive throughout the entire level, and I was easily able to beat it, so let's continue on. Day 33 only allows me to plant 7 plants down, and using dandelion along with the power tiles, this level was easily beaten, so let's continue on. Day 34 is one of the harder levels I've faced so far, having me protect both a full row of twin sunflowers, but as well as making sure the zombies don't walk over the row of flowers. And at first, I didn't bring sunflowers from my own because, well, you know, this level already gives me a full row of twin sunflowers, so why would I need more? And this did not end well for me. And after a few more attempts, I managed to win thanks to both dandelion and broccoli, so let's continue on. Day 35 is just a zombie boss fight, so with that out of the way, let's return to the Dark Ages. Welcome back to the Dark Ages, where the plague is still running amok and the nighttime still has its power here. And as always, because this is the first level, it was easy, so let's just move on. Night 22 introduces the bandit zombies, who sneak around the lawn for a bit, leaving if not killed, and drop 75 sun when killed, before leaving the lawn, making them quite useful if I do manage to kill them. And besides that, this level was also quite easy, so let's continue on. Night 23 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 24 is sadly another level that only gives you sunbeam to produce sun to complete the sun objective, making it sadly another impossible level under my rule set, so with this loss in my hands, let's unfortunately continue on. Night 25 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 26 introduces the Dark Summoner zombie, who will summon 4 dragon imps around him, which are all immune to fire damage. And they are quite a threat, especially with the fact that this level only allows me to lose up to 8 plants. And it took me quite a few tries to get a winning attempt. With that said winning attempt having me use cactus because none of the zombies in this level can hurt them. So with this challenging level out of the way, let's continue on. Day 27 has me protect my next new flower, Witch Hazel, who is based off of a flower of the same name. And their main gimmick is being able to kill most zombies instantly, turning them into a puff shroom upon death. Meaning that the mushrooms work for us now! Ha 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 ha! And using Cold Snapdragon, I was able to protect these Witch Hazels and I was able to beat the level. Night 28 is a locked and load level, so skip. Night 29 is another impossible level, once again giving me no sunflower shoes, and not even sunbeam, and only giving me sun through the tombstones, meaning I have to use grave busters in order to plant anything down. So, sadly, with another loss in my hands, let's continue on. Night 30 is just the zombie boss fight, so with that out of the way, let's return to Big Wave Beach. Welcome back to this godforsaken place known as the Big Wave Beach. And this time, I'm allowing myself to use Lily Pad from the get-go just to save my sanity. And this level was easy, but that's probably just a mercy from this world. So, let's continue on. Day 34 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 35 only allows me to bring 5 plants into the level, and since Sunflower and Lily Pad are basically required for this, I brought along Buttercup and Blockly as defense, and bringing Lotus Pod as my main attacker, and finally getting the show of their water form, for those who remember that, which is them firing a torpedo into the water, meaning the first thing that comes into contact of it, and exploding in a 3x3 area, dealing damage to all zombies. And with this form of strategy, this level was beaten. Day 36 is both a locked and loaded level and a plan your defense level, meaning that it gets the double skip, so let's skip it. Day 37 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 38 introduces the scuba zombie, who's a tankier snorkel zombie, with the added threat of being unable to be attacked when underwater, which does not change much about them as a threat in the grand scheme of things, because I can't really attack normal scuba zombies underwater as well either. But this level also introduces my next new flower, Chopper, who is based off a Venus flytrap, of course, and I won't go into too much detail what he does, because we all know what Chopper does, let's be honest here. I also found that Chopper doesn't work well with Blockly, so you won't be seeing me use them that much. Anyway, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 39 may just be a lock and load level, but it does introduce my next new flower, Homing Thistle, who is based off a thistle. And they basically function like Cattail back in PvZ1, being a full screen attacker who aims at the closest zombie to the start of my lawn. So, anyway, this is once again locked and load level, so skip. Day 40 is a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 41 features one row of land for me to use, so bringing along Lotus Pod once again, along with Blockly, this level was beaten without too much issue. And it's weird for me to say this, but so far these levels have been my favorite of the expansion levels thus far, which is quite shocking me, being Big Wave Beach and all. But anyway, let's continue on. With the Day 42 being the Zomboss fight, we finished off Big Wave Beach, so let's return to the Frostbite Caves. Welcome back to the Frostbite Caves, this frozen winterland known as Canada. First level is easy always, so let's continue on. Day 32 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 33 once again limits the amount of plants I can take into this level, so bringing Sunflower, Snapdragon, Buttercup, and Paraleaf, I was able to beat this level with only a few close calls. And what was also quite helpful within this level was how the sliding tiles were placed, making Snapdragon quite useful in this level. But once again, with this level beaten, let's continue on. Day 34 is a plan your defense level, so skip. Day 35 is also a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 36 introduces the Robo Dodo, who's once again just another tanky version of the normal variant of the Dodo Rider. And they are quite a pain to deal with, only Snapdragon, who would have thought. But this level gives me a Citron in the middle lane, making this level not much challenging with most Dodo robots being sent in the middle lane, so let's continue on. Day 37 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 38 is also a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 39 is another level that took me quite a few tries to get right, with my first attempt being to bring along Dandelion alongside Snapdragon for some of that extra damage. And while I did get close to winning doing this, I lost in the final wave due to a large amount of Robo-Dodos. So, on my second attempt, I brought along Cactus instead to further plant through the stall of the Robo-Dodos. And with this new strategy, I was able to beat the level. Day 40 is the Zomboss fight, so with Frostbite Caves out of the way, let's return to the Lost City. Welcome back to the Lost City.
At night.
And with it being night, means I'll have less sun within these levels. Or that's what it would be if it weren't for the sun tiles, which will give me plenty of sun for these levels compared to something like Dark Ages. And this level is also easy, so let's continue on. Night 34 has me not spend more than 5,200 sun. This level also introduces— Hey, wait a minute, why are you back? No, you're not getting in another intro, sir. No, sirree. Anyway, using both Witch Hazel and Lotus Root, I was able to beat the level without too much of an issue, even with the large amount of skull zombies this level was throwing at me. So, let's continue on. Night 35 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Night 36 is also a locked reload level, so once again, skip. Night 37 is another conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Night 38 introduces the Magenta Skull Zombie, with their main gimmick being to use their evil curse to give all zombies on the lawn a speed boost for a short period of time. And they can be quite a threat, too many zombies get boosted at once. But using both Cactus and Vanilla, this level was beaten, so let's continue on. Night 39 introduces my next new flower, Daisy Chain, who is based off of a daisy. And with their main gimmick being to spawn a cloud that slows down zombies that come into contact with it every so often. And they get stronger each time they use this cloud ability, upwards to up to 3 times in a row. And this level also has the Rot, covering the last 3 rows, with all of them having sun tiles on them as well, meaning importers can always put their tents down before I'm able to kill them. And during my first attempt at this level, I completely forgot that excavator zombies existed and didn't bring a logging plant to deal with them. So on my second attempt, I swapped out Vanilla with Turkey Pult and was able to beat the level. Night 40 is the locked and load level, so skip. Night 41 is just the big final level that all worlds have, and using Turkey Pult and Daisy Chan, this level was easy to beat, so let's continue on. Night 42 is once again the Zombie boss level, so with Lost City out of the way, let's return to the Neon Mixtape Tour. Welcome back to the Neon Mixtape Tour. The world where music rules and the zombies, well, they still drool. And as always, this is the first level, which is always easy, so let's move on. Day 34 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 35 is also a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 36 has me not lose more than 10 plants, and thankfully this wasn't another Day 28 incident again, because using Cactus alongside the Aioli and Broccoli combo, this level was easily beaten. Day 37 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 38 is also a locked and load level, so once again, skip. While Day 39 is just a conveyor belt level, it does introduce a new zombie, the Goth Punk Zombie, who's just a normal punk zombie, but they only use their ability when the boombox zombie plays their music, making them quite a deadly combo. But other than that, skip the level, because once again, it's a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 40 has protect 2 twin sunflowers, and it also features a ton of both arcade zombies along with 8-bit zombies who kind of just exist outside their machines for some reason. And thanks to both Cactus and Boingletta, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 41 has the Rot taking over the first lane, and besides that, I used Cactus and Boingletta once again, which made this level another easy one. Day 42 is once again the Zombie boss level, so with Neon Mixtape Tour out of the way, let's return to the Jurassic Marsh. Welcome back to the Jurassic Marsh, the prehistoric era of a horde of a bunch of dunderheads. Now, this level introduces actually a brand new gimmick, the Tar, which is another neutral force on the lawn, both disabling all plants planted on it, meaning they can't deal any attacking damage or produce sun, but it can also slow down zombies quite a lot, making it also good at stalling zombies in the early game as well. But besides that, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 34 has me protect a row of flowers from being trampled over by these zombies, and using Cold Snapdragon, this level was quite easily beaten. Day 35 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 36 introduces the Egg Imp, who's basically just a conehead with the speed of an imp, and they're not much of a threat. But this level also introduces the Jurassic Panic Ambush, which has some dinosaurs reenact that one scene from The Lion King, where they'll rush through a lane, moving plants to random spots in that lane, along with killing zombies in their path as well. And even with these new threats, this level was once again really easy, so let's continue on. Day 37 is a locked and load level, so once again, skip. Day 38 is also a planar defense level, so once again, skip. Day 39 has me protect a singular hot date, who will attract zombies to the lane it's in, along with this level also introducing the next new zombie, the Jurassic Imposter, who, using their clever disguise, all dinosaurs will ignore them, along with also being immune to knockback, which once again isn't much of an issue for me. And, using Cactus and Witch Hazel, this level was beaten, so let's continue on. Day 40 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 41 introduces the Rock Carrier Zombie, who will drop a rock upon death that'll act similar to a gravestone, along with once again just being immune to knockback like all Jurassic Bully variants are. And once again using Cactus, this level was easy, so let's once again continue on. Day 42 is a locked and loaded level, so once again skip. While Day 43 is a conveyor belt level, it does introduce the next new zombie, the Egg Stealer Imp, who carries around an egg that upon death will drop it, and will transform into a Egg Imp. Which, can be quite an issue since the egg dropped can also destroy a plant that it lands on. But they won't drop the egg if it is killed by an ash attack, or an attack that will cause them to ash. But once again, this is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 44 has me not spend more than 3,550 sun, but it also introduces my next new flower, Hocus Crocus, who is based off of a crocus, and their main gimmick is teleporting a zombie back to where they started, along with dealing some damage as well. And even with the spending limit, this level wasn't so hard, so let's continue on. Day 45 introduces a rock puncher zombie, who will punch any plant it walks into, along with leaving a crater that will not let me to plant anything there until it is gone, and also being once again immune to knockback. And this level can be quite some issues, but I still managed to come out on top, so let's continue on. Day 46 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 47 is just the big final level of this world, or his expansion. But once again, thanks to Cactus, this level is also quite easy to beat, so let's continue on. And with Day 48 being the Zomboss fight that finishes off Jurassic Marsh, and let's finally return to the modern day. Welcome back, at last, to the modern day, where the timeline has become more messed up than my sleep schedule. As always, this level was easy, so let's just continue on. Day 36 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 37 features both tons of Frostbite Caves zombies, along with a lot of Imp Dragons alongside them, meaning you have to bring both a plant that can deal fire damage and also not. So, using both Snapdragon and Red Stinger to take care of these zombies, this level was beaten. Day 38 is another locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 39 is also a conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 40 is also a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 41 is also another locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 42 is also a locked conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 43 introduces the next new zombie, the Sunday Edition newspaper zombie, who's once again just a tankier version of the normal one, so yeah. Anyway, this level also features almost all of the bully zombie variants, along with a lot of the Egg Stealer Imps. But using Cactus, this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 44 is another conveyor belt level, so once again, skip. Day 45 features almost every ambush we've come across in the past 11 worlds. But once again using Cactus, this level was beaten with not much of an issue, so let's once again continue on. Day 46 is another minigame level, so once again, skip. Day 47 features every new special zombie we've encountered once again in the past 11 worlds, which could have made this level quite a challenging one, but thanks to the large amount of bandit zombies in the early game, this level was made quite trivial to beat, so let's continue on. Day 48 is a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 49 is when the universe truly starts to fall apart, with not only my game starting to lag out a lot during this level, mainly during the transitions between flag waves, but also featuring every zombie, not you, in the past 11 worlds in this singular level. So I didn't mess around here, using both Cactus and Boingletta, along with a bunch of other supports, and Sunflower of course. And along with this level also gave me a coconut cannon in the bottom lane. And after a long and treacherous fight against all these zombies, the level was finally beaten and allowed me to continue on. Day 50 is once again the Zomboss fight and the final one, so this is now when I start reviewing this world in quotations. And to be honest, it was kind of meh. There were some expansion world levels that I liked, the ones from surprisingly Big Wave Beach and also Jurassic Marsh, those ones I really enjoyed, but a lot of it was also either very short, if you can consider by how long I discuss each world, but also very just easy. very few levels that I genuinely struggled with. Most of them being either the Zomboss fights, believe it or not, or just a random lock and loader or conveyor belt level, which, you know, skipped, you know, time-saving reasons. But yeah, this is a very meh-ish world, again, in quotations. But with Zomboss finally out of the way, the expansion levels have finally been finished, and let me continue on to the Hypothermic Hollow. And I'm done.
Am I glad he's frozen in there and that we're out here and that he's the sheriff and that we're frozen out here and that we're in there and I just remembered we're out here. What I want to know is where's the caveman?
Welcome to the Hypothermic Hollow, a frostbitten wasteland that's taken place decades after my journey through the Frostbite Caves. Now, while there isn't any new gimmicks in this world, something new was added to the sliding tile gimmick, which is the ability for them to change direction at any time, more specifically during like flags and stuff. And I also started using the Sabi Whip in the second rows in order to keep my non-fire plants from being frozen, so I can get like more sun and stuff. And also this level was easy, so let's continue on. Day 2 has nothing much to talk about, or was anything challenging at all, so let's just continue on. Day 3 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 4 has me ash 75 zombies, but with the added caveat of that all plants who can ash zombies are banned, with a level wanting me to use flame weed in order to complete this objective. Now, you may think that I would call this level impossible because of this, but there is in fact one plant they forgot to ban who does have the ability to cause zombies to ash. Cactus. You can do so thanks to their plant food, and along with bringing Cold Snapdragon, who is the only plant that I have who couldn't be frozen, so I have a way to unfreeze the rest of my plants, I was able to beat the level. So take that, Reflourished devs. I don't need your flame weed. My flowers can handle it just fine. Day 5 introduces the Shell Shock Hunter Zombie, who may just look like a tankier Hunter Zombie, but they do have some tricks of their own up their sleeves, like throwing balls of ice instead of snow, which will both instantly freeze plants with one ball, but can also deal damage to plants as well, which includes fire plants, meaning I can't just place a fire plant in front of them and completely counter their entire gimmick. But they have the only weakness of just throwing one ball at a time, which means I can kill them before they become too much of a threat. And even with this brand new threat to this icy realm, I beat the level and can continue on. Day 6 has me protect 2 pepper bolts. And while this level did take a few attempts to complete, maybe because of the Troglodytes crushing them with their ice blocks, but thanks to using Dandelion, I managed to come out on top after a couple of tries, so let's continue on. Day 7 introduces the Charred Zombie, who's immune to fire damage, meaning I'll have to bring along a non-fire plant in order to take care of them. So, bringing along Red Stinger along with Wasabi Whip, this level was beaten without too much issue. Day 8 is a locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 9 introduces the Chief Zombie, who uses ice magic that he very much knows how to use, to summon an icy wind whenever he wants to. This also is the level where they start using gravestones, which work like every other gravestone, so nothing new there. Oh, and this is the only level where I use Holy Barrier, who's apparently a flower according to an event that the Reflourished devs did, so I'm allowing them. And they just make weaker walls, and that's it. This level is also easy, so let's continue on. Day 10 is locked and load level, so skip. Day 11 has The Rot taking over the right side of the lawn, making it almost impossible to plant anything over there, along with spawning tons of gravestones throughout the level to move my close attacking plants all over the place. But besides that, this level was easy though, so let's continue on. Day 12 is a mini moss level that I would like to talk about, because it's actually pretty cool, but sadly it's just a locked and load level, so skip. Day 13 introduces the Weasel Queen Zombie, who summons blue weasels who are both tankier but at the cost of their speed, along with summoning an army of both normal and blue weasels at the end of a lawn. But, just like normal weasels, they are no match for the power of fire, so even with this large weasel army, this level was easy. Day 14 has me stop the zombies from trampling a row of flowers, which includes weasels on their own to try and rush me down when I least expect it. But thanks to the power of cactus and their plant food, this level was beaten, so let's continue on. Day 15 is a play in your defense level, so skip. Day 16 introduces the Chief Hailstorm Zombie, who's an imposer of that mini-boss I mentioned 4 levels ago. And, using their better ice magic, they summon an icy tornado, which will both chill my plants, but also give zombies in its path a buff, making them both tougher and giving them stun immunity. Meaning that you can see zombies walk with butter on their head, which is pretty cursed if you ask me. But using Daisy Chain and Vanilla, and Wasabi Whip of course, I beat the level without too much of an issue. So, let's continue on. Day 17 has me make sure 40 zombies get buffed by the Chief Hailstorm's ability, which was pretty easy because they gave me an entire frozen row of them at the start of the level. And while the buff zombies did give me some issues, I still managed to come out on top and completed the level. Day 18 is locked and loaded level, so skip. Day 19 is also a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 20 is just the zombie boss level, so now I discussed the world and I really liked it. It's just more Frostbite Caves, which, you know, I already really liked, so yeah, I'm really happy about this world. I like all the new zombies, even though most of them are just from the Chinese version. They're still really fun to deal with, and I thought I had to actually think a lot for these levels. You know, I just use cactus for a lot of them, also like Snapdragon and Wasabi Whip, but whatever. Anyway, with zombie boss out of the way, let's continue on to the final, as we're recording this, world, the Assault Airspace. Alright, victory. He's just...
Oh, poop.
Welcome to the Assault Airspace, an altered version of history and time known as the Great March. Now there is a lot of gimmicks to go over, so let's go over them one by one, starting with the lot itself. With our home being a flying air fortress, it gives us 3 lows of ground to work on, with the rest of them being in the air, only allowing flying plants, such as flower pea here for example, to be planted on. Another thing to note is the way I lose in this world. So, instead of the zombies trying to get inside of my house as they have in every other level, instead they try to take down the airship itself using their blowtorches, lowering the house's HP. When that bar empties, I lose, causing them to fully take down my ship. And lastly, to help with this flying swarm, I have access to an automatic cannon, which will fire up the closest zombie to my house. Additionally, I'm given a new power-up that allows me to target anywhere on the map to fire multiple cannons at once, with it going on cooldown afterwards. And while this is functionally a power-up, I'm allowing myself to use it because it's an integral part of the world and allowing me to beat it, because a lot of the levels are designed around you using it. And with all that out of the way, the level is finished, and then we can continue on. Day 2 introduces the cloud gimmick, which are basically permanent lily pads, allowing me to plant ground plants in the sky rows, which is quite useful for defending my home. And I also unlock a new flower, Asparagus, who is based off an asparagus, and their main gimmick is firing in the lanes it's in, along with the ones above and below it, but after firing a certain amount of times, they will overheat and go on cooldown before firing again. And they are quite useful, and you'll be seeing me use them in basically every level in this world. And lastly, this level introduces the gunship, who uses a submachine gun to fire both my plants and my house. And once it reaches my home, it will fly away and move to a new lane. And right now, they can take down my flowers if I don't act quick enough, but I was still able to beat the level and continue on. Day 3 was a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 4 is also a locked and loaded level, so once again, skip. Day 5 introduces my next 2 flower, Puffapple, who is based off a pineapple, and while they are not a flower themselves, they come from a flowering plant, putting them in the same category as block glue. And their main gimmick is, well, being a wall plant, with the ability to fly as well. And along with being able to reflect projectiles like the gunship group's bullets. But will go on cooldown after a while, and once again, you'll be seeing me use them a lot within this world. And this level also introduces the Pelican aircraft, which will spawn imps on any of the ground tiles of my home. We'll walk backwards until they reach the end, jumping off. which also means I'll have to bring a backwards attacking plant in order to deal with these imps before they eat my entire defense. And even with this new threat, and the level only allowing 18 plants to be planted, it was very much beatable, so let's move on. Day 6 introduces the Twin Fighter Zombie, who takes up 2 rows of space, and they won't go down unless both sides are destroyed, with the already destroyed side being a meat shield, and just blocking all the damage. And if they come into contact with any plant, they'll ram into them, basically killing them unless they're a wall plant. And if they manage to reach my home, they will charge into it, dealing massive damage to it, which is quite an issue. But once again, even with this 2-road space threat, this level is beaten, so we can continue on. Day 7 forces most non-flower plants into my team, only giving me both Cattail and Shrinking Violet for the plants I was able to use. So bringing along Primal Sunflower, Asparagus, and Puff Apple myself to try to beat this level. And Shrinking Violet was quite useful with weakening all the tankier zombies this level throughout, giving my attackers a much easier time, and allowing me to beat the level. Day 8 has me protect 2 Puff Apples, but it also introduces the Scientist zombie as well, who uses a plasma gun to fire at my plants to give them either a positive or negative charge. And depending on the results of what he fires, they can get a different reaction, which I'll go over now. If the 2 negatives are fired, they will paralyze the plant for a short time. If a positive and negative is fired, it will chill a plant for a short time. 2 positives will make a plant slowly take damage, killing any non-wall plants. And while most of these effects can be an issue, as long as they hit a wall plant, I'll be fine. And using Cactus, this level was easily beaten and allowing me to continue on. Day 9 is just a gimmick level, but it is an on-rail shooter, which is really impressive that the devs managed to program this in. It's a Plants vs. Zombies 2 of all things, so really good job, devs, but skip and let's move on. Day 10 features tons of gunship imps, but this level was over fairly quickly, making it quite easy, even with the Gargantuar it threw at me at the end, so let's continue on. Day 11 has the Rot take over all the ground rows, leaving me with only the clouds to plant on, so using Cattail alongside Asparagus so I have full attacking range all over the lawn, this level was beaten with almost no damage dealt to the house, so let's continue on. Day 12 is just the mini-boss level, so skip. Day 13 introduces the Gas Wave Ambush, which will spawn gas pod imps, who will spew out toxic gas in a 3x3 area, damaging plants over time. But they deal so little damage and have so little health, they tend to not be a threat most of the time. And this level wasn't too much of a challenge, so let's move on. Day 14 introduces the Commando Zombie, who has a missile launcher in the way, and will either fire directly at my plant, which can be reflected by Puff Apple, or do a lob shot, which will always hit my house. And this level wasn't too hard even with this new rocket launching threat, so let's move on. Day 15 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 16 has me protect a row of flowers, along with spawning a ton of pelican aircraft in order to have the imps walk over those flowers. And there were tons of stressful moments within this level. Imps getting close to the flowers, but me being able to kill them before it was too late. So I was still able to beat the level and come out on top, and continue on. Day 17 introduces the Stealth Fighter Zombie, who takes up 3 rows of space, along with any zombie around it becoming invisible, basically making them unable to be damaged until they leave the area of the effect or the Stealth Fighter is killed. And just like the Twin Fighters, if they manage to reach the house, they will charge into it, dealing massive damage. And this level did give me some issues, but even with this new threat, I still managed to beat it and can continue on. Day 18 is a conveyor belt level, so skip. Day 19 has me not lose more than 17 plants, so using Cactus alongside Asparagus and Puff Apple, this was beaten without too much of an issue. Day 20 has me protect 2 Peagle Pods from this flying horde. And this level was quite easy because of the endangered plants actually being quite beneficial because they're actually really good plants. And along with bringing along Dandelion, this level was easily beaten. Day 21 is another on-rail shooter level, so skip. Day 22 is a planar defense level, so once again, skip. Day 23 just spawns airstrikes for the level, which will kill the plant on the tile it hit, but this level wasn't much of a threat even with the airstrike, so let's just move on. And a Q green screen airstrike. .mp4. Day 24 is a locked and low level, so skip. Day 25 is just the Zomboss fight. Actually, it even isn't the Zomboss fight, it's actually the General Camo boss fight, who's the main villain in this world. But that doesn't really matter to the challenge. And, guess now I talk about the world, and I really liked it. I might just give this the title of Most Peak for both game design-wise and on a technical wise, because they have to program all of this from the ground up, because for context, this world is from the Chinese version, and they weren't able to just port everything, they had to reprogram everything from the ground up. So, yeah. And with General Camo now dead, the Assault Airspace isn't beaten, and I can finally say this challenge has been completed. So, let's continue on to the end. Wow, Camo, that was a joke. And so, the challenge is finally over. So in the end, there are 7 long parts, over a dozen worlds later, and 3 months of hard work, and probably thousands of flowers planted. Can you beat Plants vs. Zombies 2 Reflourished with only flowers? Yes. In total, I played for a grand total of 575 levels, and well, almost all of them were possible, or either locked and loaded, conveyor belt, or planar defense levels. There were some levels that I deemed to be impossible on the first run through of it, and with those levels being Ancient Egypt Days 1 through 3, Dark Ages Night 14, 24, and 29, Holiday Mashup Day 46, and Caliginous Carnival Night 8. Making that total to 8 impossible levels out of 575 total. Also making a total of 567 possible levels. And for the worlds themselves, throughout this challenge, I've been putting the worlds on a tier list, ranking them from the worst to best. And here's the finished product of it all. Hope you'll like it, and if you disagree with my opinions, I don't know. And additionally, here's a tier list, ranking every flower I used within this challenge I made in a different stream. All ranked by how much I used them and how useful they were. And to also break a bit away from the script. Thank you all so much for watching this. I know it was very long, but if you sat through the entire thing, then good job. I was not expecting, like 3 months ago, that singular first part of the video to do so well as it has been. But yeah. And, you know, I'm still gonna make flowers only content, but probably not for a while. Probably expect another one even like September or October. I don't know. We shall see. And it'll probably be one of the big mods. Ultiverse has been on my eye for a bit, so probably expect that. But I don't want to keep you here for too long. So once again, thank you all so much for watching this. Thank you all very much for the support on all the videos. For all these, and allowing me to get over to 1,000 subscribers. And once again, hope you all have a great day. Bye. See you all next time.